Hello and welcome to a very special Halloween episode of the F.Reality Podcast. As you can see, some of us have made the effort to dress up for the occasion. Let us know in the chat if you can guess what these outfits that we're wearing are. Some are better than others. Some have put more effort in than others, but we'll roll with it. It's been a wild couple of weeks in VR, so join us today as we recap the highlights from the past couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about one of the biggest VR game releases of the year, Resident Evil 4 VR, of course. We discuss our thoughts on the announcements made during Facebook Connect. Nathan gives us his hands-on, or should I say face-on, impressions of a new mixed reality headset called the Lynx R1. And to round up the show, Zim will be sharing his top picks for VR games and experiences coming out next week. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out if they've got any highlights that they want to share from the past couple of weeks. And also feel free to let us know what you've been playing in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. First up, this crazy cat cannot be tamed. He's feral, he's wild, and he probably has rabies, but he's oh so adorable and fluffy. It's the one and only Rowdy Guy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Arg, I'll be doing just fine, mate. No, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Just for the record, I got tested and the results of rabies were negative, so
good to hear.
That's a good thing. So no rabies yet. Might change in the future.
I was gonna say you're sitting next to Nathan, so you might get rabies. You get regularly tested, eh?
No, I don't really have a highlight this week. I mean, I mainly played Lone Echo a little bit further, played a little bit of the Resident Evil, but I guess we'll dive in a little bit deeper on that later. I'm looking forward to hearing you guys' opinions on it, and I'm looking forward to sharing mine as well. Yeah, it's going to be a spicy one, I think.
There you go. Straight from the horse's mouth. It's going to be a spicy one. So, yeah, welcome to the show. You've got a pirate outfit on, right? Is a pirate outfit?
Yeah, I'm kind of like a pirate. I mean, it was the cheapest outfit I could find on Amazon.
Rowdy Sparrow.
Yeah, Rowdy Sparrow, yeah. And I still have a Halloween party and I'm going off to later. So, yeah.
That's the thing. You should have got the missus to put you with the eyeliner on, gone full.
Yeah, like I'm not the kind of guy to wear a lot of makeup.
Okay,
sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. There we go. Right, that is Rowdy. Next up, this mad lad has ventured far from the Friesland all the way to Paris to try the latest VR tech. It's our VR adventurer. It's of course Nathan. How you doing?
Dude, I can smell the Eiffel Tower from here.
You can?
Yeah. I was like, what do you think it smells like?
Urine.
Yeah, honestly, I've been there.
Also.
How far is Paris away from your hometown?
I was like a 6-hour drive, so I don't know how much kilometers those are, but pretty far, but decent enough to drive. I mean, Europe is pretty, that's a nice part of Europe. Like you count to 10 and you're in a different place.
Yeah.
But does anyone need to make any guesses who I am?
Minnie Mouse?
Are you a special kind of unicorn? I think he's a kind of unicorn.
Oh wow! Well,
any highlights over the past couple of weeks you want to share?
I mean, you already kind of spoiled it in a way that I tried the Lynx.
Okay, we're going to talk about that later.
It's like an hour ago, so this is going to be the freshest impressions I've ever given. But I already, honestly, when you said it, I already kind of forgot that I did. Because it's been so chaotic that I'm like, oh yeah, sure. But that's my highlight. That's my highlight. So yeah, we'll talk about it later, right?
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Well, let's move on then. Next up, this guy doesn't sleep in reality. He likes to head out deep into the wilderness, surround himself with creatures that want to eat him, set up camp, and get good night's sleep in VR. It's a VR streamer. This is MTalk5. How you doing, dude?
Bing. Yeah, I'm good. I actually fell asleep in VR once, for real, in Outlast, live on stream.
Outlast.
Wow, Outlast of all games to
I
fall
was
asleep
so,
in.
I had done a run of different scary games, and then I'd done Outlast with, I think it was Vorpex or something at the time, on Twitch years ago. And you know how it drains you? It takes your, what am I thinking about here? Rowdy should know this. Not stamina. What is the thing it puts in your veins?
Sanity. I don't know.
Sleep about it.
Yeah, it injects your body has a natural release. not dopamine.
More adrenaline.
Adrenaline, thank you. So when adrenaline
okay.
hits you, right, and then it kind of wears off, makes you really tired. So I'd been going for a couple of hours, and I fell asleep in the chair. It's the only time I've ever, in my 7 years, fallen asleep live in the chair for 10 minutes or so. Vorpex in Outlast.
You wake up
During
and
the
then there's one of those creatures in your face. That would be like terrifying.
Aren't they naked in Outlast? I think so.
Maybe
they aren't wearing any pants.
Speaking of naked,
I
should probably take my my outfit off and.
I was gonna guess what you. I thought you were dressed as an old VR brand. That's what I thought you.
Touche, Mr. Rowdy.
So there's a Z on your mask.
There was a Z on my mask, and a 5 on my chest.
Zimtok 5. Genius.
This is the whole Clark Kent thing, right? So now I get to be the Superman side.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah,
Any highlights from the past couple of weeks?
Absolutely got a highlight. I have several, but I'll leave it to one. So, and this is probably a shout to Paradise DK, who kind of led me to this one. But there's a game called Hubris that has been previewed to a few channels and things like that. I don't believe there's an available public demo yet, but it's coming next year. Having played just a day before it, Subnautica Below Zero in VR with a mod, I played Hubris, and actually Hubris was the more undersea kind of amazing environment. I don't think I've been this floored by an experience in a while. It's very pretty. It's got the whole kind of sci-fi thing about it. The creatures and the interactable objects in VR are really convincing, and it's got climbing like in The Climb. So you add all these elements together, it feels like 3 or 4 like VR games bundled into one. And now I'm like really interested. Where's the story going to take us? It's freaky. It's freaky in a way that I like it. So Hubris, look out for that one coming next year. If you're into sci-fi stuff, keep your eyes open.
From what I saw of the videos that I've seen of this game, the water physics look...
Yeah, actually, it's something that, and having been an early adopter of the original Subnautica, like that in and out of the water transition can be really rough in VR, and they've done it very well. And you actually have swimming mechanics, which feel better than any other VR game I've played. So... It really is, as a starting gun, like, but looking at it, I was like, this is going to be like one of those flashy looking Unreal projects that look pretty, but kind of feel like they're, it's like a sheet of lasagna over like boiling lava or something, and it's going to crack at any moment. But it's actually solid. As I said, story, gameplay elements, VRification, all of that's in there. So really high hopes. It's going to deliver us a multi-hour campaign.
Cool. Keep your eye.
We got some inputs from the chat, by the way, as to like what Zim is dressed as. I've seen MetaZim. MetaZim is one of them. I've seen it's the Zuckerman.
The Zuckerman.
The Zuckerman. I think that's my favorite one, and I thought Zimman as well. Zimman.
Nice.
Nice. Keep the suggestions coming.
Keep them coming.
He's gonna be Suckerman for now, okay?
Zuckerman.
Zuckerman.
I'll take it.
Nice. So yeah, your highlight was Hubris, for those that missed the name. So yeah, if you don't know who I am, my name's Mike, host of the show. But let's see what the chat have been up to.
Wait. You say you're Mike? I don't believe you're Mike.
Well,
you imposter.
Some people in the chat got it right. Some people in the chat got it right.
Palmer Lucky, right?
It's
Palmer Lucky?
Leisure
Palmer Lucky.
He's got the shirt.
It's Leisure Suit Larry, right? Leisure Suit Larry.
What is the guy called again with all the pets?
Ace Ventura. He does look a little like Ace Ventura.
I need the hair for Ace Ventura.
That's true, yeah.
But a couple of people got it right. Water UK got it right. It's Max Payne, specifically Max Payne 3. When he goes out and he wears this exact shirt. It is the exact one from the game. I searched high and low to find it, but yeah, and the same glasses as well.
We should get that voice, the voice actor from Max Payne to like do an intro for F.Reality. We should do that. That would be so cool. Yeah. His voice is so iconic, So great. It kind of broke my soul a little bit when I realized that the guy who looks like Max Payne isn't the guy who sounds like Max Payne. Like they're different people.
Funny enough, like the guy who looks like Max Payne is the CEO of Remedy.
Yeah.
And the host of this podcast, right?
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So have the chat been up to much? Have they been playing?
Yeah. So there have been, like, this week has been, I mean, I guess like a busy week for a lot of VR users. I see people actually playing Lone Echo 1 as well. There was David Peters, for example. I saw Resident Evil 4. Sneaky Snooks was one of the people who played that one. And then I saw Watto UK playing some Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in glorious VR, of course. Let me go through a little bit. Now it's just all suggestions for what Sim's name is.
Zorro Talk 5. Oh.
Fair enough.
The Green Lantern. Yeah, there's another one that I saw. But yeah, I've seen a lot of games being played that's been released this week. So yeah, it's been a good week for VR.
Yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks. Yeah, it's been a crazy month. It's been a really crazy month. So looking forward to getting into it a little bit later on. But before I start getting into the news, maybe I should start by thanking our first sponsor of the show. And that is, of course, Synth Riders. They've shown us some love once again, and we love having them as a sponsor of the show. So if you're not familiar with Synth Riders, it's a superb music rhythm game from the team at Cluj Interactive, and they've just released a brand new free update to the game called Spiral Mode, which is a mind-bending new way to play the game, unlike anything you've seen before in a music rhythm game before. And this kind of new mode, it offers a new way to play the game by leading the player through a cylindrical stage. So you're traveling on this cylinder that kind of rotates, and you've kind of got to lean to move with it. I got to try it out earlier on. It's really cool. And basically, you need to do that to avoid obstacles and navigate the new mode's many twists and turns.
So it's basically like Wipeout, but you being the ship.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. It's quite intense, but a lot of fun. They've added a spiral mode to all the current tracks available, and also an additional track which they've just released for free called Go from Dance with the Dead. So yeah, a fitting name for this Halloween. So yeah, check out Synth Riders and the new free Spiral mode, available now on Oculus Quest, PSVR, and PC VR headsets. A link to the Quest version is listed in the description down below. Thanks again.
All right, thanks.
So to start off the news this week, I thought we'd do a little chat about Resident Evil 4 VR, because it's been one of the biggest...
Little, you're saying little chat?
We'll try and keep it little because we've got a lot to cover this week. But obviously, it was one of the biggest VR releases this year, aside from Lone Echo 2. Obviously, exclusive to the Oculus Quest 2, although since its release, we've discovered that a lot of people with Quest 1s have actually been enjoying the game as well. There is a little workaround. So if you're interested in that workaround and you want to play Resident Evil 4 VR on your Quest 1, go search up the Oculus Quest subreddit. They've got some guides over there on how you can do it. It's pretty straightforward by all accounts. And it seems like the game runs absolutely fine on Quest 1. So I'm not quite sure why or the rationale behind Oculus not releasing it for the original Quest. I guess it's to push people to buy the new hardware, but who knows?
I suspect it just didn't meet their QA standards. And the problem is, if you hold your QA standards against other devs and say you can't go on the store unless, you can't then turn around and release a game that doesn't meet those standards. And that's probably it. Few places in the game there aren't up to scratch. But I'm so glad that there's a workaround that people with Quest 1s don't get cut out. That's important.
Yeah, although I would imagine it's probably a small percentage, it's still like a decent chunk of people, I would imagine. So yeah, I'm happy there's a workaround. So what did you guys think of it? Have you guys finished the game? How far into it have you guys got?
About 4 hours. I'm about 4 hours into it. Yeah. So.
Okay, Nathy?
Yeah, I finished it.
Yeah. Rowdy, how about you? How long you got in?
A couple of hours. I think maybe 2 hours, something like that.
We've got some decent amount of time in the game to talk about it. So I've actually finished the game. My playthrough probably took around 10 hours or so. That was from start to finish, and that wasn't exploring every nook and cranny. I did a sort of moderate amount of exploring, but yeah, didn't get everything. So if you're familiar with Resident Evil 4, there's tons of treasure littered around the maps which you can find, seek out, and then you can use that as currency to sort of trade in with the merchant to upgrade your gear and buy new weapons and expand your inventory as well. So it's well worth doing that. But
did you find when you were going around the map and stuff that finding that treasure was like 10 times easier? Because in VR it like catches your eye. I just found it
easier.
So much easier, right? Like even like through slats of things you'll see it. I mean, I remember playing it another way, and anyway, it's an advantage in VR for sure. And I think thinking ahead of other titles that might be coming to VR, like that's an advantage for sure. Certain things that were difficult before now get easy.
Well, I mean, talking about you saying that, like this game feels like complete new game. Even like I never played Resident Evil 4 before, but I watched like a pancake gameplay of it.
Yeah.
And this is like a total different experience.
Yeah, I agree
with you. Completely new. It's completely fresh.
Because I've been lying to you guys this whole time. I didn't lie. I didn't realize. But I was going through my cabinet after I was like searching to make a thumbnail for a stream that I was doing for this. And then I ran across this like black and white graphic, and I was like, oh, it isn't Resident Evil 5 I played. I actually played Resident Evil 4 on Wii. I forgot about that it was actually out, and I beat it. I don't think I beat it, actually. I think I got stuck in some spot. But so it's a totally different game.
It is. Yeah. But it's funny because you playing the Wii version, that was the last version of the game I played of it as well. And in fact, that was previously my favorite way to play the game. The GameCube was the original version. The Wii kind of updated it a little bit and added motion controls with the Wiimotes and the nunchucks, which made the game way more fun and immersive at the time. But now playing it in VR and actually, stepping in the shoes of Leon Kennedy for the first time, for me, it's the best port of the game to date, in my opinion. And you did make a valid point there that some of the collectible items, they're a lot easier to find. And I also find that the combat is easier now because you do have a massive advantage in VR, because previously if you played the game on a flat screen, Leon would kind of stop moving as soon as you brought your weapon up, and you couldn't strafe or anything like that. You were kind of jammed into the same spot. But now you can strafe around and move around freely whilst aiming, so it gives you a huge advantage actually. But
even compared to the new Resident Evil, 8, this is a pretty easy game to finish.
Yeah, although there is a caveat to that. When you play the game from the start, you've got easy and normal mode. Yeah. When you finish the game for the first time, it unlocks New Game Plus. So all the weapons that you collected throughout your previous run carry over into a new run. That makes it even easier, in my opinion. But then you also unlock professional mode. Professional mode, I can tell you now, is hard as balls. Like I really struggled with professional mode. Ammo is like super, super scarce. You have to use your knife a lot. And you easily get outnumbered and swarmed by the enemies. So if you think the game is too easy, then play through it and then try professional mode and get your ass.
Why is it unlocked from the beginning?
I mean,
it's just one of those things you unlock through playing the game. Yeah.
It's similar to what they did with Covert Ops, Phantom Covert Ops. Where like they're giving extensibility to the game. I did find it was surprisingly, I'll use this term again, VR-ified. From the initial handshake, I was quite impressed. Like the environment that they put you in, which is I suppose inside a church or a castle or something like that. But that transition from the opening menu into that part of the game, particularly on Quest, most games don't do that very well. Like the initial handshake for Quest games is choppy. Normally, it's like, here's a flat loading image, here's a flat and sometimes no stereo depth to the loading, then you load into the game. It didn't feel very good, but they did a great job of that. First 2-minute experience is really, really great.
But the loading is very fast too, right? I mean, you don't have to wait very much
quick,
at all.
Almost too quick in certain places. It's like, why have the loading screen at all? Like it kind of it feels weird. It's if it's just a second or two,
Yeah.
So
yeah. But all the weapons, they felt great. You have to manually reload them, which is awesome, which obviously we're used to in VR. But, if you're picking up this game for the first time and jumping in and buying a Quest just to play this game, and then you get to do that for the first time, it's just going to blow your mind. Obviously, the story, it's a classic if you're familiar with the story. It's a lot of fun. It's got some crazy characters in there as well, which are a lot of fun. Some people were kind of upset a little bit about this game because there is some bits that have been cut out for this VR version.
Censored.
Yeah, so they've censored a few things, and it's mainly lines of dialogue that refer to like Ashley's chest. There's some misogyny in there and some just cringe dialogue that was cut out. And personally, I don't think it has any effect on my enjoyment of this game, and it's kind of annoyed me to see so many people say, oh, this game is censored and we shouldn't support this. And it's like, yeah, but if you actually look at what content was cut out, it was all kind of cringe stuff that probably doesn't deserve to be in a game releasing in 2021. You know what I mean?
I think the reason why people were upset as well is because Facebook is the one who's responsible for this game. If it would have been a different company, I think it would have been a kind of different discussion there.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally,
I think it's a difficult discussion just in general to have. Like, you have people, like, some people see this as a work of art, and art is not meant to be touched, you know. But at the same time, it's Facebook who's like co-publishing, releasing this game. So of course you have some kind of way of how that piece of art then is like being portrayed on their platform. So you can make arguments for both ways. Exactly. I think people should just make that out for themselves. I think it's hard to like get like a straight line in between those two.
There is a list of all the stuff that's cut out. So if you do want to see what's been cut out of the game, you can go and check it out. If you just Google it, there's plenty of websites that have reported on it. Personally, it didn't have any bearing on the enjoyment that I got out of this game. And
if you never played it, you're not even going to notice it in the first place.
And if you have played it, it's been so long, honestly. Yeah. If you remember those bits, you know. And I also don't think, I mean, some people are probably worried that it sets a dangerous precedent, that, you know, every game here on forth that's a re-release is going to get cut down. But I think seeing from what they cut, I think it is smart, right? If you're on that boundary fence between the purist, the artisan, to say, keep my game as it was, and hey, we're updating. I think if you're going under the hood to VRify something, you're doing enough work that really it's a new publication. Like, even if it's the same story, it's the same game mechanics, you're putting a lot of new effort into that. So I definitely, personally, I fall on the side of editing things out that are not right to put out in 2021. It makes sense. You know, I don't want them to get involved with, you know, say they released Saving Private Ryan and there's no swear words in the whole thing, right? Let's say that was a video game, right? Like, that kind of neutering is just too much censorship. But there are certain topics that just we've grown up, right? As a world, we've grown up and grown out of things, and, you know, gender identity is a thing as well. Like, if there was something in the game about that and it was going in the wrong direction, it would make sense for them to take a censorship stance on it. So.
I agree with it. And like I said, I don't think it has any bearing on the quality of the game or how much enjoyment you can get out of it. One thing I did have a bit of a problem with, which I saw was a kind of a reoccurring issue that a lot of people had with the game, like this port specifically, was that how the cutscenes were handled. Because, so if you're not familiar with how they worked it out, they couldn't sort of rework all the cutscenes so you're in them like a VR game would normally have, because this is an old game that's been ported. They kind of dealt with the cutscenes that you are sort of transported to like a little immersive environment, and you watch the cutscene play out on a flat screen in front of you. I found it a little bit jarring, being pulled to and from the sort of game world into this kind of like immersive theater mode, a little bit, especially where there were like very short cutscenes, like Leon jumping out of a window or climbing a ladder or something like that. That was particularly jarring. But for the most part, you kind of get used to it.
Yeah, the movie bits were fine, you know, where you really have to get a part of the story. That's okay. But I felt like, you know, they could have at least made like his kick into VR.
Yeah, the roundhouse
like
kick.
A little animation, like him pushing the ladder. It could have been an animation. So on that side, I found it a little bit, you know, immersion breaking. As I said, the long cutscenes, like you're like in video games, in pancake video games, you have floating cameras, right? Virtual cameras. You can't make the player a camera in some kind of like Hollywood kind of thing. So yeah, the short scenes, I hope they're gonna redesign those, because they do really break the immersion, and they're annoying too, because if you're in the combat and you look to the left, then suddenly the cutscene plays to the left, but then you have to look at the right. So it also is a disadvantage sometimes. So it's kind of, not my jam, to be honest.
Yeah. But other than that, if you're like a purist, you know, you love this series and you're familiar with the DLC as well, just know that the Mercenaries content, Separate Ways, and Ada assignment weren't included with this VR port. Although I'm hoping that because of the success of the game, that maybe Oculus and Armature, the developer that did the port, will consider adding it as like future DLC. That would be really, really cool, because you know, you could replay the whole game as Ada in Ada assignment, which was pretty cool. Right.
Yeah, see, like for me, if we're talking about like kind of the pluses and minuses of the game, I find the knife combat to be a bit binary. And also The Walking Dead has spoiled knives for me, because the ability to have the knife kind of pronounced and then have it in stabby mode, right? Like that swap ability, I think should be now a standard across all VR games with a knife in it. Because I really do like having a knife in a more defensive mechanism to be able to take out zombies and stuff like that. It feels like what we've just touched on. It feels like they've taken 3 different types of, I'll call it viewport in VR and kind of mash them together. So you do have like that roundhouse kick or the ladder that you were talking about, mashed with the movie bit, mashed with the first person bit. And I don't think I've played a VR game, at least not a successful VR game, that's done that. So that's probably their biggest sin. I would have to agree. But the thing that I think I said at the opening, for me, that on the positive side, the game really does a great job of bringing you immersed into a game that's quite dated at this point. And there are VR mechanisms in the game that you're playing with, whether it's interactions with the weapons or just lining up the sights and stuff like that, that make it feel fresh. And being in those environments as well.
And
I mean, for example, right, that the crates that you can break open and things jump out at you. Like, I've had a few shriek moments in that. That would never have happened in flat, right? It just wouldn't.
That's true.
And then you end up getting like this Stockholm syndrome with the game as well. I don't know. It felt actually quite a lot like the PSVR built specific, Resident Evil 7, which they obviously VRified, but they made some mistakes in that, and this kind of feels a bit like that. So it's not your perfect VR game, but for what it does with immersion,
that's why we call it a port.
And revisiting a classic.
Roundup 4,
I'm just very happy. That's why I can take any of these sides, right? These like small, I'll call them small defects that don't impact the main game. If you haven't played this game before, what a blessing to get that as a cake that you can just stuff your face into. So I'm glad they sponsored this, and I'm glad that we're getting more along this chain of let's VRify old great titles that are lightweight and can actually fit on Quest.
So, I mean, I'll give my opinion on the game as well, because I think it's radically different from what the impressions are at yours. Now, keep in mind, I haven't finished this game. I've played it for 2 hours and I turned it off because I didn't like it. Yeah. That's one thing. Although I do think that the story is great. I have a great feeling about the story. I love Resident Evil stories. It's not my type of game though. So this is important before I start talking about things. I've never played Resident Evil 4, so I don't have a nostalgia feeling going back in here. For me, this is like I'm going back into a new VR title, and for me, it almost feels like I'm playing a 16-year-old game, and that's probably because it's 16 years old. Yeah. And I agree. Like, the intro scene is very nice, looks very polished. They clearly did that over, but in a large part of the game, as someone who hasn't played the original, who doesn't recognize any of the original things, it feels very, very dated. I've encountered a lot of 2D textures, like the plants that they put on the ground, the environments that you have around, they're all in 2D. And I don't know. It's just not...
nostalgia makes up for a lot of stuff. That's just...
Of course. But then I wonder, because I saw King of Nerds, actually, he posted a question in the chat. Do you think younger players will enjoy the game as much if they don't have nostalgia for Resident Evil 4? I believe that they may see the control as stilted. And I agree with that. I think that a lot of younger players will go in this game and they've heard a lot about Resident Evil. They think this is a new Resident Evil game, and it's just not. The AI feels very, very lacking. It's too old, it's too slow, it's too easy. The controls, in my opinion, are weird. For example, the locomotion controls, the options that they have, they don't make any sense to me. They don't have any hand following. You have orientation following, but that doesn't work because you need to use it with the thumbstick. So there were a lot of controls where I personally had issues with. I do appreciate the manual reloading. You know that I'm a big fan of that. So that is good. But in general, I don't know. It feels to me like kind of like what I expected. It's going to play as a port, and I don't consider this as a VR game. And I've been spoiled with VR games in a similar genre. If I, for example, look at Saints and Sinners, I would recommend that game like 40 times over before even considering this title.
Yeah, the thing that I want to say about this is that I mean, it's your opinion, and I do think it makes sense in many ways. Although, I played Resident Evil 8 myself. I finished it twice, and I actually had a blast playing this one. Although, I like the genre. But I do agree that we should be looking at labeling this stuff, because I think people are going to confuse now what's real VR, what's a port, what is, because this is VR, but not completely. You know what I mean? And it's now mixed between all the other games that... Yeah. So I think people are now thinking that this is VR, you know what I mean, who just bought their headsets. And I mean,
to me personally, this feels a little bit like, and I said that before as well. I think what Oculus is doing is they're pushing these like older titles to like developers. Like for example, they contact, because I knew they contacted Rockstar, because I said it even back down on the podcast. They're hoping that by doing something like Resident Evil 4, someone like Rockstar will say, well, you know what? We have an older title. We have GTA 3. Because I was thinking they were going to do Vice City. That was my guess. They were going to do a port of Vice City and try to bring that to VR. But they did it with San Andreas, which is great, of course. But I think this is kind of like a way to like make like people who have, you know, nostalgia for those kind of titles, to bring them over to VR to experience those. And for that, it's great. But I don't see that as real, like, these are not the VR titles that I'm waiting for.
No, but the thing is, like, these times are screaming for games like these, because we have a content problem at the moment. And this is a part of the solution, not completely. Because the thing I am a little bit afraid of is that, you know, since Resident Evil has done so well, that we're now suddenly, like, next year we're only playing ports, and we're like, we're the real, you know, from the ground up built for VR games. And that's the thing that I'm kind of scared of.
I don't mind, you know, but maybe it's because I love Resident Evil 4 so much, and I'm a big fan of the series.
But would you mind if you always played that everything were ports?
Yeah, if 80% of your games that were landing next year were ports, right? Yeah,
I think the important thing with ports right now is the brand recognition of these games, right? Because it reaches such a wider and broader audience than just like the VR bubble. And
but
I think
it's also cheaper to make, just so you know.
Maybe, but I think that is critical to bring more people on board.
As a gravity well. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think it's actually smart to have.
You know, look how amazing Lone Echo 2 is, right? Like, we love that game very, very much. But you go up to my best friend who's a traditional gamer, and I say, oh, dude, I played this game, Lone Echo 2, is fantastic. He doesn't know what the frig I'm talking about. If I say I played Resident Evil 4 in VR, he knows instantly what I'm talking about. And I think that's so important for these ports.
And I completely agree with that. I think it's great for, like, you know, making people aware of VR. However, if I'm showing VR to people, I will not be showing this game. Because
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
If I can show something like Lone Echo,
on this one.
of course.
Yeah.
And I think that from my side, like, there is a... you mentioned if you've played it before, it may influence your opinion. I'm definitely in that camp. And that's what I noticed going into it, because what they did with the user interface to make this like openable, like the phone that opens into 3 folds in your hand, the menu system that is actually one of the most gorgeous settings menu systems that I've played in a VR game, to turn it from flat to that. That's not a small uplift. That's substantial re-engineering.
No, it's a solid port. It's not like we have seen lazy ports in the past, right? Where it's like, oh, we call this VR. You're like, okay, yeah, but this is like, this is a decent port.
Yeah.
One of the parts that frustrated me the most is like I need to do like those Wii movements with my hands and break out or like run away from like a falling rock or whatever. Those kind of things like that.
They do allow you to opt out. They allow you to opt out of that, which is nice. Yeah. And actually, on the flip side, I'm one of the people who likes QuickTime events. I liked it with the Wii, and I like it with this game. And the thing is, we actually went through in the console series, right? We went through a bunch of games that had QuickTime events for like 3 to 5 years, and then they went out of fashion, right? And this coming back is kind of funny because it's a viewport into that, and I don't think modern games are going to really want to have QuickTime events. So you're part of the crowd anyway, Rowdy, that even back then hated QuickTime events, and I can totally understand it. I get it.
Isn't this game great. Like it levels up VR in a way, but it also kind of downplays VR a little bit. It's kind of in the middle there.
It is.
You know?
I'm glad that we've got differing opinions on it. I think it's good to have like different opinions on things and sort of talk about it. You know, I think it makes the show way more interesting for people to listen to.
Okay.
But yeah,
maybe we should do it more. You know, maybe we should do that more. Have different opinions.
Maybe. But like, if I wanted to bring another game into VR, maybe we should have a little. You can pick a game that you'd love to see in VR, and I mentioned this in my Resident Evil 4 VR review as well. That I would love to see a Dead Space port brought to VR. I think that game would be a great fit. It's scary as hell. And, aiming those sort of like, plasma cutters and stuff in VR at those kind of like necromorphs and like blow their limbs off and stuff, I think that would be amazing. So, yeah, that's the game that I would like to see ported to VR next if Oculus were listening. What about you guys?
I got one. Old one. Okay. Many of you won't have played this. Painkiller. I really liked the environment of Painkiller. Okay. It had these wonderful brutal objects. Like if in modern day, it would probably be Doom Eternal. But if I'm pulling something from the past, I'd want Painkiller to come back. It was pretty gory. You were a dead guy. You're trying to fight for your soul. I mean, there was blades, gore, guts kind of thing. First person shooter, right? But I'd like to see something like that come in VR. I know we've got plenty of stuff, and that's just my kind of avenue, right?
Cool. What about you guys?
For me, I mean, like it goes a little bit against what I've been saying the entire time, because I'm basically saying that ports like don't really work. But if there's one game that I would like to see ported and it really works well, based on the condition that it works well, but I don't think it's possible. It's like I said before, I would like to see Prototype. I think that's
cool game,
something like that. Or something maybe more realistic. I mean, I know that you guys know that I'm a fan of like strategic games. So maybe like something like Age of Empires, seeing that ported over completely on like a giant table. But again, these are like more like new titles. I saw in the chat, by the way, someone say Shadow of the Colossus. And I think that would be a really, really great title as well.
You just made me think of another one now, Operation Flashpoint. I want a proper milsim where you've got tanks, you've got the ability to lay in a field,
you can't choose multiple ones,
stuff.
Tim. You just got to choose one. What about you, Nathan? What about you?
I mean, it would be very obvious, but if I could pick something else than BioShock, I would say
that's been popular in the chat as well.
Uncharted is also something that could be like, this adventure being Indiana Jones in VR and all these beautiful locations, finding treasures.
First person Uncharted?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess you would probably go for a dual mode Uncharted, eh? Like be able to play it in first person or third?
Yeah, but like I love third person in VR, but that's not the most popular.
It's not the way to sell it, right?
It's just that I do hope that, we're like it doesn't get so hyped up to the point where they think that everything can become a port, because not every game is made to be VR. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. We proved Kururin could become Squingle, so that that pretty much sets the bar.
In this case, this game was made for VR, and it completely, as I said, completely reinvents this game. It's insane.
Yeah. I loved it. Rowdy hated it. There you go. But we've got some good suggestions.
I hate it.
Yeah, you hated it. Yeah,
good suggestions in the chat. We've got Shenmue, Jack and Daxter VR, System Shock, Lemmings. That would be interesting.
Lemmings.
Wait. How does Lemmings work in VR? You just have people running off a cliff? We've got that in Gorilla Tag.
I've actually already played a Lemmings VR game before. So there is something someone who modded that, well, not modded the original game, but made like a VR version of it.
Metal Gear Solid, World of Warcraft. Good suggestions there. Yeah, thank you very much.
God, World of Warcraft in VR.
So that's our thoughts on Resident Evil 4 VR. A little bit divided, but I think overall, if you check out the reviews in the store as well, a lot of people share our opinion in saying it's a fun and it's a worthwhile game picking up if you've got a quest and you're looking for.
Rowdy's opinion is on page 20 somewhere.
Yeah. So let's move on then. But before I get into the Facebook Connect discussion, I do want to sort of delve into that. I want to quickly mention that there were two other big VR events that took place over the past couple of weeks, and it wasn't just Facebook Connect. Yep. Both Varjo and Pimax had events as well, where they unveiled new and upcoming products. Just to give you the sort of like lowlights of those two events, if you kind of missed them, just to sort of give you a bit of an informed perspective of what happened. So Varjo announced a new headset called Aero, which is a bit of a departure from their business and enterprise focused headsets, as this is a headset that's available to anyone. Like anyone can buy this headset, although it is very expensive still. It boasts super high-end specs. We've got dual mini LED displays running at a resolution of 2880 by 2720 pixels per eye, running at 90 hertz with 115 degrees field of view. It has built-in eye tracking for dynamic foveated rendering, which is something we've been talking about on the podcast like forever, I believe. But this is one of the first headsets that you can actually buy as a consumer that has this baked into it, so that's awesome. And it also has automatic IPD adjustment because of the eye tracking built into it. It is super expensive, like I said. It's $2,000. So you will need deep pockets for this, and you'll also need your own headphones and microphone solution if you want to play, any sort of like multiplayer content. But the key thing with this headset from Varjo is that you don't need a yearly license, which is what was required with all their previous headsets, which were mainly focused at businesses.
You're getting their software for free in a way.
Essentially, yeah. I could see this being super attractive for like, flight simmers and racing simmers who want the very best cutting edge headset possible and have the cash to drop on it. But
and the furry people as well.
I don't know if this
the
one's
VR
that
chatters
interesting.
and the Neos.
I don't know if this one's that
so.
interesting for those. Maybe the next one. Maybe the Pimax might be. Let me talk about that. So if you're interested in the Varjo, like I said, it's $2,000 US. You can pre-order now. Delivery will be by the end of the year.
Can I just say one thing about that? I do have to give them props. I think they had the best presentation of all the events that happened. Varjo did a really good job. It was very fun to watch, very enjoyable, very honest too, and no fake excitement. I love no fake excitement.
Yeah. Varjo are a really, really cool company. They do some really interesting stuff. And it's kind of interesting that they're kind of bringing a lot of that cutting edge tech to consumers, even though it is still super expensive. So now let's talk about Pimax. They had a really interesting event as well. They announced the Pimax 12K QLED. It's a highly optimistic headset with some truly crazy specs. So get ready for your mind to be blown.
Uh-oh.
They're launching a headset with a resolution of around 5760 by 3240 pixels per eye, probably one of the highest we've seen on the market. It can run up to 200 hertz, again, something we've never seen before, and with a crazy field of view of 240 degrees, which is pretty much getting to the point of your natural eye field of view, not far off. It has a built-in Snapdragon XR2 chipset, so not only can it do PC VR, but it can also do standalone VR, although the resolution will come down and the refresh rate will come down and the field of view will come down when you're in standalone mode, so it can run apps natively. It has built-in cameras for eye, hand, face, and body tracking built into the headset, so you can actually track your body from the headset, which is insane. On top of all this, this is where you start getting a bit skeptical, because on top of all this, they say, you're gonna be able to do this wireless with a wireless module, and they're also going to be launching something called Pimax Station, which can provide VR gaming from the cloud. So they're going to have a server farm somewhere running VR titles, PC VR titles, which you can stream.
That's a cool idea. That's
very
nice.
Cool idea.
Yeah.
Shadow have done it before, and I've tested it, and it does work. So it is technically possible, but it's just there's a lot there to be promising customers.
That's true, but it is interesting.
Technically possible. That depends also on like the amount of users that you have, right? Because the cost of those servers. Yeah. Jesus Christ, that must be enormous, and especially if you're targeting a large audience. Like, But
it is interesting.
I don't know how feasible it is.
Usually it's only like hardware, but this is finally someone who's like, okay, but what can we do on the software side? So this is something, so this is the stuff that I'm interested in, where it's like, okay.
So again, it's going to be expensive, so prepare your wallets. This one's going to cost $2,400, and that's for pretty much like the base model. It's planned for release in Q4 2022, so we're a long way off that. It's going to be this sort of time next year. And I thought their presentation was interesting. I think what they're offering is highly optimistic. Sounds great on paper, but historically, Pimax doesn't have a particularly great reputation of delivering. They tend to overpromise and underdeliver, from my experience with them so far. So this will be a product that they'll really have to prove themselves and ultimately change the reputation that they've earned themselves over the year with the community.
The thing I do applaud them for is that they come up with innovative ideas. Like I do think that the ideas that they bring forward are innovative. But of course, this headset currently doesn't exist, right? It's not like they have a prototype on hand; they can show it. I don't think that they, at least in the presentation, that there is something that can do already the things, and they just need to optimize it and then release it for next year. So, I mean, it's one thing to like come up with the ideas, and the second thing is to actually deliver on those and to like actually bring it to the market. And I think that there's going to be some struggles there yet.
Well, put it this way, bearing in mind their Kickstarter was many, many years ago now, they're only just now delivering their sword controllers to backers. So it's taken them that long just to deliver on the controllers alone. So this is why I say that, I wouldn't recommend, putting money down now. Wait until this headset is out in the wild and see what people actually say with it first, because, you don't want to disappoint yourself.
I would definitely, if you are interested in this stuff, inform yourself, Google around what has happened in the past few years, and then make a decision. But it sounds like they pushed a date that is kind of far away, but honestly, it's not that long. Plus, a lot happens nowadays. Tech moves fast, so. I don't know, but I do like the cloud thing. I gotta say, we can talk about like specs, whatever, but a cloud thing that someone is selling, that's kind of interesting.
But I love the specs as well. I just like Mike said, I'm wondering if they'll be able to release something.
But this is what everyone wants. This is what everyone is dreaming of.
Actually, we had a question. We had a question from the chat as well regarding this. We had Vexner asking us, with Varjo setting the bar for resolution and Pimax following next year, how long do we think it'll take for consumers to get human eye resolution at a reasonable price?
I think we're still like a few years away from that, really, realistically. It's just because these components cost a lot of money for them to buy, to build something like this. And it's only when that technology ultimately gets cheaper that they can pass those savings on to a consumer. So, it's going to be a while yet, I think. But personally, I don't necessarily think we need human eye resolution just yet. We haven't got the content that really takes full advantage of it. So
I agree.
That's my opinion on it.
On Pimax, I think for me with them, it's less about their inability to stick to a shipping time frame, because some companies who are successful companies miss deadlines. And although it's not a good way to kind of build a reputation. I like that they're cutting edge, or they try to be cutting edge. My concern is that they cut corners trying to be cutting edge. So what I've found with their previous products is, and I'll compare the Index to, say, the 5K Plus. It's like, we've got the widest field of view. Yeah, but you've got aberration right across the frame. You've got distortion. You're cheating in order to achieve that end result and to get that number for marketing. Yeah. Whereas, let's say the Index has full, not as wide, not as tall, but it's sharp all the way through. It's like the properly engineered solution. So for me, what I want in a company is engineering solutions that don't cheat and cut corners. And unfortunately, what I've seen with Pimax that irks me is the cutting the corners. And so when I hear something that sounds like a pipe dream, I know that's how they're going to get there, and I don't want that. Yeah, personally,
Fair enough. Skiva in the chat rightly said that they're going to be apparently showing this headset off at CES in January in Las Vegas. So maybe some people are going to get some eyeballs in this headset and actually tell us what it's all about. So there you go. So there's the other two announcements that happened over the last couple of weeks. So let's get into Facebook Connect. I'm going to kind of go through this announcement at a time. Otherwise, I think it's going to get a bit too confusing.
There's a lot of chunks to it, aren't there? Yeah.
So let's take it like chunk by chunk. And let's start with the big one.
Speaking of chunks, Mike, your video is stuttering. So it has been since the beginning. If there's anything you can do with your camera, that would be good. But
I've
if
got
you
a feeling
can't, just leave it.
Probably internet connection rather than camera.
Or is that because of the painkillers?
Could be the painkillers.
He's going into slow mode.
He's just kind of in bullet mode sometimes. I'm like...
Bullet mode. You can hear me okay. Can you hear me okay?
Your audio is crystal. As long as
you can hear me okay, that's all that matters.
It kind of fits your outfit anyway, so you're good.
Yeah. Camera looks fine, my end. It's just your end. It's
okay.
Okay, so take it chunk by chunk. If you missed the event, Mark Zuckerberg led pretty much the whole presentation, and it really sort of was a double down on their future plans and goals for building the metaverse. So let's talk about the metaverse first. When I live streamed this event, I kind of joked at the beginning of the stream that we would play a drinking game, and that every time that Mark or anyone else said the metaverse, you'd have to take a drink. I'm kind of glad I didn't actually participate in that in the end.
I thought you were going to say, so I just want to apologize for my behavior during the stream. It was really because I just had too much to drink.
No, that would have gone with your Max Payne thing, to be honest.
I would have been in an ambulance on my way to the hospital.
More than 200 times, wasn't it?
It was insane amount of times.
Ridiculous.
It was insane amount of times. Basically, the metaverse, from what they're saying, is this is going to be Web 3.0. Like the future of the internet, which you can inhabit. A place that you can socialize, play, relax, watch movies, work out, explore, build, work, learn, and shop, and do all this kind of stuff with your friends if you want to. And essentially, if you think of like the Oasis from Ready Player One, that is what they want to build. I feel like they could have just started the presentation by saying, you know what, we're just going to show you a film, and this film will explain everything you need to know about what we want to build, because they did it in a very unusual way. They showed a bunch of use cases, sometimes with holograms, sometimes with avatars. A lot of these times didn't show people wearing headsets, so it was kind of like confusing if they were in a virtual world or in reality. It was kind of a bit confusing on all over the place. But, I think being in the VR scene for long enough, we all understand, what the metaverse is and what their plans are and what they want to build. So I didn't feel like it was necessary for them to go on for like an hour and a half.
But it looked nice. I mean, the production value of this and kind of like, imagining this stuff was great. But I wish, as you said, like at the start, they would kind of make clear who this was for, what they were going to do, because you're like, as you said, like you're like, okay, so how long is this? Like if it would have been for 40 minutes, because this is partly also for investors and for people to kind of get into. Yeah, but I feel like they, and we have spoken about this before, like Facebook Connect is kind of an identity crisis. I already said last show, as a gamer, this is not the stuff to watch. And I kind of confirmed it because, well, we're going to get into that later. But, it was more about...
I was kind of expecting like a whale to jump out of like a gym floor. And then I was expecting that kind of stuff. Like it was a lot of like when we blame sometimes other companies of like over-promising and then not delivering. I kind of had the feeling that now as well with Facebook. They're promising this kind of like, very bright future and like people wearing headset glasses and that kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure that will happen eventually, but we're still such a long way off from that. And at the same time, they still haven't brought out Facebook Horizon to like the general audience. Like we still don't have something like that.
Well, that was something that when I was watching it, I enjoyed it. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, I have been asking, and you guys as well, for an Oculus Rooms thing for a while. And you're like talking about, but you can't even implement some basic features on the headset you have now. So Metaverse is cool, but
they did introduce Horizon Home, so that's
they did. But what I'm saying is like you're talking about stuff that you want to do, but last year they didn't do anything with the Quest. The year before that you didn't do. Now they did, because it fits their profile, what they're talking about. But
if you would have played a drinking game every time that they said coming soon, then you would be drunk at the end as well.
Also,
Jesus Christ, like
that's true, and we should stress that it was their plans and goals. It's not like what's going to happen imminently. It's long-term vision, and that kind of fits into more stuff which we're going to talk about later. But they did announce Horizon Home, which is kind of like an environment with the Quest. When you start off in your home, you're going to be able to redecorate that now. You're going to be able to invite friends over and hopefully jump off from that point into games with your group of friends as well, which is, we've been asking for that for a long time. And I think that is going to happen more imminently. Of course, we've still got Horizon World that's in the works and Horizon Workrooms that is currently available now for sort of like remote collaboration and things like that. So we do have some stuff happening imminently, but it was mainly stuff that's happening far into the future.
I want to make one small comment, which is just, I get the feeling with Facebook or Meta's unveiling of various bits and saying coming soon, I don't get the same vibe from them that I do in Pimax. I get the vibe that, okay, we're 80% of the way there, getting ready to ship, and now we're ready to say it. Like they've got this in the workshop, it's functional, that type of thing.
Facebook's
very different.
Sometimes.
With their hardware, yes, I agree. But with the thing that they were with what they're doing now with the announcements of like how they see the future, this and that, that's 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years, maybe even more.
Right. I was talking hardware. Right. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not talking the metaverse as they described it. That's nowhere near.
Yeah.
Nowhere near.
So I think they said that they were spending, what was it, like 100 million or something like that on employing people to build these worlds and environments and
10
stuff.
10 million, right? Or was it 100?
Was it 10 or 100? I can't remember the exact number.
It's
the same thing.
One of the two. But one of the things that I found quite interesting was that they were talking about buying and owning digital items and having them as assets, right? And we kind of touched on this briefly when we had a good question and a super chat from one of the viewers about NFTs. Do you guys have you guys ever invested in NFTs or anything like that?
I'm not sure I would call it investing, but I would never purchased an NFT. I think that there is a place for them. In other words, having a digital unique asset that you can purchase and then it's yours. I really liked the concept of, although not with Facebook at the or at the steering wheel for it, of having some central register that would allow you to basically have an NFT, but then have it be portable in, I hate to use this term now, but the metaverse. In the metaverse, you buy a leather jacket and you can take it from A to B to C app, but that should be decentralized. It should be with a regulator. It should not be with the government body or a company. I think that those things are just hazardous.
And it's interesting you said that, because I feel that they will introduce their own cryptocurrency to support this. And if it isn't called Metacoin, I'll eat my headset. I believe that they'll make Metacoin a thing, and it'll be a cryptocurrency on the blockchain that you will have to convert your fiat currency into to then use to buy your NFTs, your digital items for your home and your outfits and your weapons and all that kind of stuff.
But just it does show how big like Facebook is, because I saw Sean from Rec Room. He said like we're already doing this kind of stuff, but when Facebook does it, then suddenly it's new and it never happened before, right? But
I totally agree, and it's funny. Like some people criticize me on my stream for saying that a lot of this stuff happens in VR chat already. Also. Mark was talking about using teleportation to jump between worlds, and I was like, that's exactly what happens in VR chat right now. Yeah. And I've seen some incredible worlds built in VR chat just recently. Like if you look at Lakuza, who built the Devouring experience, the horror experience that we all did together.
Yeah.
He's just recently built a Jet Set Radio world that is phenomenal. Like you put on a pair of skates, you can grind all the rails and spray paint and stuff. And then there was another one where it was called Udon Tycoon.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah, where you could build your own roller coasters and water slides like Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then ride them with your friends. Like you're gonna get super motion sick, but
show that on the stream. Show what's going on right now, what it really looks like. But what they showed here is like, as you said, kind of putting expectations real high. But it's almost like they're ashamed of what's already there. But you have a beautiful platform with all these
or maybe they don't even know that it's already there.
That could be
one thing from the past, and I know I've mentioned this before, and Nathan's played this before, but they were introducing a concept of the VR internet. I'll call it that. And it reminds me of Janus VR, where you would have internet websites that would have a markup language, which would translate into VR. You could go explore them in a virtual environment. And honestly, from the moment I saw that, it seeded a root in my brain, and I've wanted it. I wanted to be able to go see Amazon and try some clothing on my digital avatar. That picture coming is great. I'm excited about that. I just don't want them to be the ones driving that train, honestly. And I don't know who I want it to
like
own
all
it,
of the stuff all the stuff we just talked about, like the fact that they didn't show, like they don't mention VR chat or anything, it's because they want to own this whole thing.
Oh, of course.
They don't want to mention any of what's already there.
They want the whole cake. They want the whole cake.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah,
we've got some interesting comments. Stefan Anderson says that the cryptocurrency will be called Facebucks. The other one was VR Bug said, I think that Facebook crypto is called Libra, and I do remember that now. It rings a bell that Facebook were working on a cryptocurrency called Libra, so maybe that will be what it's called.
Guess you're going to be eating that headset, Mike.
Yep.
Maybe.
Better get ready.
Yeah.
Well, I
we
said
also
that
actually
they would make a cryptocurrency, not necessarily that it would be called Metacoin, but I do think it would be called Metacoin.
I don't know. I think he did. I think we got him on record.
Did I say that?
He's eating a headset.
I'll take it. Okay.
You'll take it,
we
will
also
you?
had actually Norman Robinson commenting on that. The meta cryptocurrency is likely the one their own already developed called DM Coin. Is that another one? DM Coin?
Interesting.
I'm
not sure.
Like Carpe Diem.
But we've got some interesting quotes from people from the industry as well, that kind of their takes on the metaverse, including Carmack himself, because I'd highly recommend you go and watch Carmack's unscripted talk. It was a few hours after the main keynote. You can rewatch it now. But he does this every year, where he just kind of goes on a rant about what he thinks could be improved, and things that he's worked on and things that he's proud of, and it's always fascinating to watch. And he said this one line which stood out for me, and he said, setting out to make the metaverse is not the best way to end up with the metaverse. And I do agree with him. I feel like if your purpose is to make it, that it might not ever, materialize the way you want it to. And I feel like if you just give the control out to the community, they will probably build it for you out of passion, and you won't have to pay them a penny, just like what's happening with VR chat.
And it's also, you're planning too far ahead in the future. I think that's also something that comes out of his statement. Like, you plan on like developing things now within a shorter time frame, and then steadily, while doing that, you grow towards developing a metaverse. And of course, you can start with the idea of like, oh, we're gonna make a metaverse, but that's not the next goal. You know what I mean? The next step is like, we make one room and people can meet in there, or something like, I don't know, like a smaller kind of step, and then from there you move on further.
Like, I'm totally down with what he's saying, but meanwhile, as you said, they're putting money into Horizon, and it's like, oh, here's money, make it, so they can still be controlling that, because they give the money, so they also then control what's getting made and what they accept. Yeah. Like, it would be so nice if people just get to create their own stuff without the control. Then you get an awesome metaverse. But I feel like on everything that I've kind of seen, it's kind of like we want to own it, and what Carmack says, that's exactly the way to go.
Carmack's talks this year were really good. He had the scripted one, pseudo-scripted, and it was really interesting that he's going to dump his notes out from what he couldn't cover in that. He mentioned that at the end of that. But then his unscripted Q&A was odd. It was a bit of an interesting watch. It was done through digital avatars, and because those avatars, right? Yeah, because those avatars aren't really up to snuff yet, it was a little bit difficult to kind of translate. You could hear obviously his voice, but him and the speakers, we just need those digital avatars to become a thing, And I think that was one of the more impressive parts of the showcase for me, was the advances that they are hoping to make at some point through digital avatars, and the way that people will look and interact with each other in VR.
Yeah, although again, like, there's a Q&A, but then it feels like everyone is just reading out something from paper, I just want more like real excitement, like the questions must be real, but everything is like under this, like I'm watching one big Hollywood movie, Why cannot someone just pop up in the audience and ask a real critical question or something that is, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, it feels a bit fake, I just want, I want to get excited about VR.
So one of the key things about the metaverse is that, you can do all these amazing things in it. You can work, play, meet, shop, do all these things together. So, you're going to be wearing a headset for hours on end throughout a day. And, I don't think we're there with the hardware yet, although, many of us do wear a headset for hours during the day. I don't think the average consumer will want to do that right now. So definitely we need better hardware before any of this stuff really becomes a thing. But something that really stood out for me was something that Lucas Risotto said on Twitter. And, Lucas has been on the show. He's mad keen on AR, more so than VR, but, he's developed VR apps in the past. He's super experienced in the medium. But he said this quote, and it stood out for me. And he said, VR and AR isn't about replacing our reality. It's about adding flavor and an additional depth to it. It spices and side orders. Real life will always be the main dish. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, don't forget that we're living in a real world where you can do a lot of this
clearly
stuff
hasn't tried
right now.
Yet.
You can go shopping with your friends. You can go climb a mountain if you want to. And
but like real life has so much like awesome stuff too, right? It would be a shame if we replace it completely with digital things.
Yeah, that was kind of my point. As cool as it is.
I know what, I'm being very respect the Eiffel Tower, man. There's 360 of it.
I gotta say though, like spending a lot of time in VR, if you do it as a hobby, or spending a lot of time locked into a house because you're in lockdown, and then going out and experiencing something real, that's a great transition. That feeling is just like, it's like opening the flower again. It's just, it's wonderful. And I do hope that people don't become comfortable with sitting within their four walls, or three walls. Maybe you can only afford three. But it's good to get out and do things in real life. And just as things do start to unlock in your country, go and do that. I absolutely love that we get to go to other universes and be different people and experience things, particularly from other people's point of view. And Google Maps, Google Earth, that they allow you to see in VR, places that you'll never be able to afford to go see, for time or money or whatever reason. But do go out, do go see things. It feels different.
So before I move on, I've been called out in the chat. So James says, Mike VRO said a couple of months ago, we don't need more hardware, we need more games. I do still stand by that, James. And by what I just said was that we need new hardware before, the average consumer will want to spend 12 hours a day in a headset. That was my point there, not necessarily. Yeah. But I do agree.
We definitely need more games. Yeah,
we need more games. And talking about games, let's move on to that then.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. As we know, it wasn't a gaming event. It was always going to be like a kind of tech event, but they did announce some cool stuff. And, they should understand that the majority of their audience out there are gamers right now in VR. There's not many people, I would suggest, working in VR right now.
And they did mention that at the start.
They did. They made a comment that was really positive.
Zuckerberg said it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's good. That's good that they acknowledge that. So let's talk about the games that were announced then, because firstly, they announced that Facebook are partnering with Vertigo Games, the studio that made Arizona Sunshine, and they're partnering with them to develop 5 more big titles for VR. So that's cool. They hinted that some of these titles would be well-known games from Deep Silver. So if you're not familiar with Deep Silver, they publish games such as Metro and Saints Row. So you never know. We might be able to see those beloved IPs coming to VR in the future.
Article 1 then, or was that?
No, but that's for A games who made Metro, but I don't know if they
looked alike,
published that.
Maybe they come under Deep Silver. I'll have to look into that to 100% confirm it. But
they were definitely affiliated with one another.
They were.
Article 1 and the Metro series.
But are these
I don't know if they were the same company that developed it though.
But are these that's what I wonder then, are these all ports or are these actual new games that they are working on?
Well, we don't know. They didn't give us any information other than to say they're working on 5 titles.
Because of what Zuckerberg said, I do get the inclination that a healthy portion of that is going to be ports.
Yeah, because Deep Silver was involved. Otherwise, why Deep, It's like... Yeah,
I don't mind so much. Like I said earlier,
Metro could come into VR and do a good thing. I really do think so. That's a very immersive experience, and it'll feel like Fallout VR does right now.
I don't think Facebook is going to allow the first 3 Saints Rows on their platform. I think.
Well, you never know. Jason Rubin knows that team. He used to work on that team. He was part of the Saints Row series, so you never know.
It would sell. It would sell. Big floppy sell. Yep.
Yeah. If you Google Saints Row and Jason Rubin, you might find a picture of him that's particularly interesting.
They're definitely going to delete that part.
I'll leave that with you. Some homework for you later. So aside from these 5 games that are coming in the far future, Vertigo also announced that their upcoming 4-player co-op zombie shooter After the Fall will be releasing fairly imminently on the 9th of December with cross-play support between Quest and PSVR players. Think of it a bit like Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood in VR. Personally, I'm really looking forward to that one.
It's very nice.
Yeah. So that was the news about Vertigo. Next up, we had an exciting announcement from developers Warp Frog, who will be bringing Blade and Sorcery to the Quest 2 on the 4th of November with Blade and Sorcery Nomad. I know there's a big community around this game that are big fans of it, so I'm sure plenty of people are going to be really happy it's coming to Quest 2. They also confirmed on their official website that it's going to have mod support on Quest 2. It won't have all the mods that are available on PC VR, but at least a portion of them should see the light of day on Quest 2 as well. And they're going to have dungeons supported at launch as well. So, there's going to be a lot of content there for you to get stuck into. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy with Blade and Sorcery coming to Quest. Aside from that, obviously, the biggest announcement, the one that got everyone super hyped, was that Facebook have been working with Rockstar Games, apparently for years, to bring GTA San Andreas to virtual reality exclusively on the Quest. What do you guys think about that? San Andreas coming to Quest?
I think that having Rockstar put anything into VR is great news because they do worlds very well, and to any step in that direction. Even though San Andreas was my least favorite of the GTAs that I've played.
Really?
I wasn't too much a fan of it. I mean, like a lot of people, Vice City and the original GTA 3 stories grip me more strongly. I played through I played through San Andreas, but it just wasn't. I didn't like it as much. I don't know.
It's just like this game is like, you know, if you like gangs and stuff, this one does it very well, and it has some legendary characters in it. Also missions that are very famous across the whole GTA universe. You know, the train one where you have to follow it. The one that is super hard to finish.
CJ.
Exactly. Also, the starting like sequence, everyone knows that. Also, Big Smoke.
You're gonna have to do the Wii movements then when you're like following the train.
Yeah. like there are also a lot of memes like, you know, Big Smoke ordering a number 9 large and stuff, and you know, spraying on trying to spray paint on parts and also all the Easter eggs. So yeah, I think this is a great pick for a game. It's also, thank God, not the oldest one in the lineup. They were working on a trilogy, you know, a remastered trilogy of GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and San Andreas. So I do hope this is going to be the remaster. It would be kind of stupid that, you know, people are playing the remaster on the console, on PC, and then we in VR get the old. I really hope it's going to be the remaster. It must be, because I think they kind of did this. So they were working on the remaster, and meanwhile they were working on the VR support. I also want to say that, you know, Mike said that, you know, they have been working with Rockstar for years, but nowhere did they say that it's only going to be on Quest, as far as I know. I honestly think, looking at Rockstar's history, this would be the first time that they really say, listen, it's only going to be on Quest. I think it's going to be a timed exclusive, honestly. Or Facebook gave them like so much money that Rockstar would. Plus, and this is a good question, are they going to do the same like they did with Resident Evil? Because there are so many things in San Andreas as well and Rockstar has a certain status where I don't know if they are going to change anything, because Rockstar is known for making games that are controversial. So I don't know.
The thing that you just mentioned it there, the fact that they're redoing with this definitive edition a whole kind of retexturing, upgrading the graphic fidelity of 3 of their games. One of them is currently announced for support. It makes me wonder if they're, you know, if they've done that work, surely they must, if that's successful, they must have the extension capability to do the others as well, because
of course
the engines are quite similar.
Yep.
So,
and what they did is they improved. What they said is they improved the combat in those games. So the janky kind of like how you shoot and stuff, they completely redesigned that for these remasters. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think VR was kind of going along with the remasters.
So from that perspective, and that's where I wanted to say that I'm happy that they picked San Andreas as the first one, because they will learn things as they VRify San Andreas, and I expect it will be a success. And then we can have Vice City as either pick number 2 or 3. So
the thing for me is, I mean, Rockstar has before like delved into VR already a little bit with, like, for example, LA Noire. I think we all remember that one was also great and well done. My excitement for this is still, you know, a little bit on the low bar, because I know this is going to be a port, and there's going to be, you know, things that are going to bother me with this anyway. But GTA 3 or San Andreas is at least, I think it's the first GTA title that I ever managed to play myself. So I will have that feeling of nostalgia going back in there and exploring that world. So I do think that is a big plus for me. But yeah, like I said again, like the thing I'm most excited about this is that you hear Rockstar diving back into VR, and that might make it more exciting, or more, they might learn new things and become more lenient into like making a full-fledged VR title at a far later stage. I think that's what I take from this, and that's what I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, I think as well with a game like GTA San Andreas, you know, with the main story and the side missions, it's easy to like a 40-hour game or something like that. You know, you could spend forever playing this one game, and I think that's really important right now for the Quest, because, and I think that's why Resident Evil 4 was so great, because it's such a long game. It's one of those games that you can, you know, fire up regularly, and I'll do an hour a day or whatever for a while, and it keeps you coming back, and it keeps the retention of the headset. And this is something that Carmack mentioned in his talk, that retention was relatively low, and that they saw that a lot of people were putting their Quest in the closet and not actually using them. But games like Resident Evil 4 were making people take them out and, you know, get back into them again, and then maybe explore what else library has to offer or has
but
changed over the months.
Because like in the banker gaming scene, an 8-hour game or a 20-hour game is more of a standard. In VR, if you can get 2 hours out of it, you're a lucky bastard,
Yeah.
But with games these, it's just a totally different story.
I'm really wondering if I'm maybe completely just different in that, but I would love to hear from the chat or people like listening later on if they're indeed like more lenient towards that, if they can make can receive a port of like a 20 or 40 or 60 hour game rather than having like a solid VR title of like 2-3 hours, what they would prefer if they had to choose between those two, because of course that funding can be put also into a VR title.
But you got to remember,
I'm wondering.
You got to remember, it's not like
chosen.
It's not like Rockstar are padding this game out. The story is phenomenal, like pretty much across those hours.
I agree,
you know what I mean?
But
that's the difference.
And I'll probably go in there for nostalgia, and I'll probably visit some places. But I'm not going to play the 40, 60 hour game. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in
you have to be realistic about that playtime as well, unless it really grips you. I mean, I absolutely like your perspective there, Rowdy, about those two sides, because I definitely fight between them. On one side, games like you mentioned earlier, Skyrim, they did the AA or a AAA game and they VRified it, and it's not perfect, right? It's not perfect, but I actually find that for games that I like that are in my like genre, that I will sink hours into that. But then on the other side, right, you have that like 4-hour VR experience, and it feels like, oh man, this is the real stuff, right? Like, and that's what Nathan was saying earlier, is that we're getting a bit dragged into this 2.5D VR. It's like, or 3.5D VR. I don't know how you would actually, call this, but it's basically ports. I don't think ports are poison. I think that ports they serve a purpose, and the purpose is attract investment, get players interested, bring both of those minds together so that actually studios can get the money they need to build the stuff we want. And I agree with all of that,
but like, I mean, like pure on like a personal level, like if you have the choice between, having a ported game or having a fully fledged VR game, regardless of like whether it attracts all, because ultimately as a consumer, you don't really care about that. You care about what you want to play, right? You don't care if VR succeeds, or you don't care if VR becomes this huge big success, or you don't care about the next title that it might bring. I'm wondering, like if you ask me right on this instance, like, should you play Lone Echo or should I play San Andreas, a ported version? I would choose Lone Echo.
But the thing is, and that's what I said before, gaming has been pretty much dead to a point where people sold their headsets or put them on the shelf because, as you said, the retention was low. This is a phase that we have to go through right now to get to the bigger picture. Although I hope that this phase doesn't become the standard where, new consumers like, oh yeah, this is going to be this is VR, right? This is what, so, but it needs it right now. Otherwise VR is not going to survive. It needs these parts right now.
I want to answer Rowdy's question for myself, because I think it's different how Mike would answer it. Because for me, if I've played the game before in flat, I won't be attracted to finish it in VR, even if it's really good. So Resident Evil 4 is probably in that category. I played enough of it on Wii that, like, as much as I like it and I give it applause, I probably won't end up finishing it, and I'll then put my time into VR titles instead. But like Mike, for example, I'm curious where you stand on that, because you replay games sometimes, and I like never. Yeah. I don't rewatch films generally. I don't replay games.
I appreciate Rowdy's point of view, and I do agree with him in many ways. But like Nathan said, we need these ports. I think they're super important for the industry right now.
And I agree with that as well. I'm just talking like more like like a personal level, like what I would want.
Level, as a gamer, I just play everything, regardless of whether it's a port or a native VR game, and I don't judge one over the other because it wasn't natively made in VR. I'm just having a blast because they're great games. I don't necessarily have that mindset in the back of my mind when I'm playing them.
But you'd play a game over again, right?
I've played many games over and over again.
I do I hope that Rockstar is gonna solve the cutscene thing, because if they go for the cinema thing, because GTA also has very short cutscenes. Just saying, where someone drives away, right, where someone is escaping, and then you have to get after them. I do think Rockstar is gonna pull some tricks that we haven't seen before. That, let's say, feel less than a port, and it's more getting into the real thing. Because with LA Noire as well, they did some really impressive things. I don't think Rockstar is going to be like, oh yeah, here's a port, quick. No, they're really gonna, pull some new tricks here.
Difficult.
It's going to be interesting to see how they handle driving, and in using pedal cycles and stuff like that, because playing the mod of like, was it GTA 5?
Yeah.
You know, like some of that stuff was like, woo, like when I was like on the jet ski with the waves, I was like, woo. But,
and they've got a rocket pack in this. And the other, I think, interesting thing is like, how are they going to handle the port, but also how are they going to handle the content? Because man, they're dropping N-bombs all over the place in San Andreas. Like, this is not a made family friendly game. And if they come in with a cleanup crew, they're going to change it. It's not.
But that's what I'm saying. Like with Resident Evil, I feel like they could change it, but this is GTA. This is a total different level. I don't know what's going on. And plus, Rockstar also has a lot of saying in this. You know, I do agree that some things should be taken out, but this is GTA. GTA is known for being controversial since the first one came out.
Exactly.
That's the genre. That's the genre you play. That's why you play GTA, because it's also controversial.
But they still might make selective cutouts, you know?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what they did with Resident Evil. The thing is, we haven't seen a port that was as fiery as a GTA title come through Oculus's cutting desk, right?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. This is the top. This is like, better than this you can't get.
Yeah,
I think the difference, in my opinion, the way I kind of see it is, the thing with GTA is all the content happens between adults. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with Resident Evil 4, it's like an adult and a child, and I think that's the difference in my mind. That's why I feel like they censored that.
Wait. Child? Oh, the kid he's saving. He's like 17.
Actually, he's a child, yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry, I was imagining like a 6-year-old. I was like, there's no kids in. Okay.
No. But that's the way I see it anyway. So yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, for more gaming announcements, they're going to be holding an Oculus gaming showcase sometime next year, which I'm sure they'll talk more about this game. And hopefully, again, we'll get more information on Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, and of course, Boneworks Project 4, which was teased years ago. But you know,
they're going to postpone it again. This would have been the moment.
Well, we know from, Brandon at Stress Level Zero that he's got a trailer ready for this game, right? So
but Brandon can just upload it to Node and he will get way more eyes on it.
Yeah, but he's making it for the Quest, and I'm sure Oculus paid for it, so I don't think he is in control of that, to be honest. But,
exactly.
We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we don't know when the gaming showcase is. Normally, it happens at the beginning of the year.
Warp Frog must be cheering because getting the sandbox physics game first on Quest before Project 4 comes is a good thing for them, you know?
Yeah. So that's, I think it was 6 months ago. So yeah, around sort of March time, you can expect the Oculus Gaming Showcase. But that's enough of games. Let's talk about hardware, because although we didn't get like a proper, full reveal, this is coming this time, we did get a bit of a tease about their next headset, which is codenamed Project Cambria. It does appear to be the same headset that was shown in the recent leaked videos. So if you're familiar with the leaks, there was 4 videos leaked from a firmware file, which kind of showed kind of like the setup procedure, those kind of clean Oculus videos that they do in their kind of tutorial videos when you set up a headset for the first time. That's what they looked like. So they were legit, and it seems to be the same headset in those videos. They did. Mark Zuckerberg did have a moment in the presentation, in the keynote, where he invited a female colleague over to his house, and she carried this like box, and they made a big deal out of like this box, being there, and then the headset was in the box. They never actually opened the box and showed us the headset.
I find that so weird.
I feel like they cut that content out. I feel like it was recorded, but it got cut. Instead, they showed us a small kind of teaser clip, of a rendering, the kind of like jazzy commercial type stuff that we normally see.
This is another place where, again, and my comment earlier was specifically targeting Cambria. I think they had the chance to maybe launch at this event and then didn't, and so they went with the B footage to instead cut away to this. So we might even see this thing become consumer available within 6 months, which excites me. But that said, do you remember when there were like health and safety or similar videos that got leaked for before Quest 2 hit the news stream, and then those didn't come out until like 6, 7, 8 months later. It was
that's true. Yeah, the
really
videos and stuff.
Odd that those didn't come sooner. It's like they were obviously out. They were in the public domain. Why not just release them?
Well, I think like if you look at like all the companies were super triggered to reveal or launch something before Facebook Connect happened, because they were all super scared that hardware would launch that would completely ruin the stuff they have been working on for so long.
Exactly.
And you could also see that Facebook was also panicking a little bit because Boss suddenly started to throw some photos out like, oh, here, because everyone's talking about Vive Flow. Let's kind of move the attention to something else. So they kind of already played it up, but I think they were just waiting out what everyone was kind of also showing off and be like, well, we can wait a little longer. We don't have to show it now.
I don't view that so much as like corporate fear of other products. What I view it as is it's free advertising. Like it's a bid for free advertising.
Yeah, but it's fine. I mean, they didn't have to. They didn't have to at all to post anything. Why be against HTC? It wasn't necessarily a big deal for them. I think.
I don't know. I think the biggest letdown about the Oculus unveiling for me was the fact that Valve didn't jump in the middle and show something.
I was like thinking about like tweeting out. I'm wondering what Valve is going to announce during the show.
Yeah.
They've done it historically.
Exactly.
But they did give us some information about this Project Cambria headset. They said that it would be a high-end headset with a high-end price tag to match. So don't expect it to be subsidized or even sold at a loss like the Quest 2 currently is. Apparently, this headset will feature built-in eye tracking and face tracking to provide more realistic interactions in social applications, which is pretty cool. Something we're kind of starting to see as a bit of a standard moving forward. So that's going to be kind of interesting. Yeah. It'll have new optics with fancy pancake lenses, which provide better clarity, but also a smaller form factor for smaller headsets, a bit like what we saw with the Vive Flow. So again, that's kind of interesting. Pancake lenses do tend to be more expensive though, so products tend to be more expensive that feature these lenses.
Can we take a guess at the price?
I would say like $500-$600.
Oh, I'm going north of that, man. I think it's going to be like somewhere between $800 and $1,200. I think they're going to really go high on it.
Okay.
Yeah. They're still going to undersell it, but it's going to be compared to the Quest 2 now, it's going to be pricey.
Remember the headsets used to be like $400 or $600. Like
we totally forgot about that. Like the Quest completely ruined the whole pricing scheme where everything seems to be expensive now.
Expectations are like
it's
hit a certain level now with consumers.
I think twice the price of what the Quest is at that moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Something like that.
Yeah. So you and Mike pretty much agree on price.
But I think the prediction we made, or at least that's what I made, was that it was going to be more business focused. And I feel like with these features right now that they put into it, and maybe the price tag, I still think as a consumer, if you can spend it, prosumer.
Exactly, it feels prosumer to me. Yeah.
But it feels more business than anything else.
I agree with Nathan on that one. That I feel like it's more business orientated.
Also, the shape of the headset, because I first thought that this was going to also be some kind of consumer thing, but if you look at also the shape, it doesn't scream necessarily consumer.
No. I still think that the Quest 2 will be the flagship gaming headset going forward.
Thank God for everyone, because I felt like if they ruined that now, it's like, why now?
Yeah. But they also said that this headset's going to feature full color stereo pass-through, so you're going to be able to work and play in mixed reality as well. So that's why I think it's more aimed at business than home users. But I do think, if you've got the budget, then you can benefit from maybe higher refresh rates and maybe higher resolution for gaming. But that's really going to be the benefit, and potentially, obviously, the social presence in social applications. But Quest 2 will still be the flagship gaming headset for a while to come yet. They didn't give any indication as to when we'll hear more about it, but we think we'll probably hear more about this headset next year, and that's their kind of like VR AR headset. They also sort of said that they're working on a purely AR headset called Project Nazure, but they didn't give any specifications as to what that is or what that will be doing or when we might see that headset reach the market.
Yeah,
soon. So yeah, that's the hardware covered. So really, it was. I think the hardware was like literally 5-10 minute segment of the whole thing. So it was relatively small.
I mean, they also touched on Area, which is something that I was guessing they would, which looks very interesting. Which is the context arena that you have with that kind of AR build. So Area is interesting because you've got like the amount of detail. What we saw, and we saw it live with them on the show when Zuckerberg did his keynote and then Abrash did his talk, where they did that 6-layer stack of how they were going to map out the world essentially and kind of commoditize everything. But seeing that now, kind of 3 years later, where a door and your headset will know the door can open and it'll know your mug can be picked up and set down somewhere, and it's interesting to see that as advanced as it is even now. But I think with them talking about NFTs, all of that merges together. And it just, to me, sounds like, okay, I can commoditize everything. And with their placement program, because they talked about content placement on the Presence platform that they spoke of. And I immediately, again, I'm hearing ads, right? Like, where can I put an ad contextually in an environment that isn't going to cause an uproar and people are going to be happy with it, and it's going to sit there, and we can sell that space. So it's coming. The train is coming slowly.
Of course, ads are going to be a big part of whatever their plans are, because that's how they make money. So it is
also,
what it is.
just so you know, Mike is slowly turning into a gaming figure, into a gaming.
Yeah, I think he ports too much, and he's turning into a port himself.
It would be so cool if he like suddenly turns into like a VTuber next Spain, you know.
It honestly looks
what
amazing.
I've done is, it might be the dual stream that I'm doing with the video call. So
your own stream too.
Well, the interesting part is it's not happening on my end. Like, you look completely fine.
Oh, he looks so cool. He looks so cool.
I'm turning this one off, and then hopefully that'll fix the problem with just a single video stream. But obviously, let's move on then to the final bit of news from the keynote. And this is the one that everyone's talking about, of course, and that is that Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook will be changing their company name to Meta. This is kind of weird because as he was talking at the end and he was hinting at the fact that they were going to change the name, I was like, there's no way that he's going to change the name to Meta, because obviously he'd mentioned Metaverse so many times. I was like, if he just says the company name is Meta and they're going to change the product to Verse, this is going to be like freaking bizarre. And then lo and behold, that's exactly what he did. He said that the company name's Meta, and I was just like, at the time in my mind, I was just like, it just feels like everything they said throughout the keynote about this metaverse being open to other companies to contribute and everyone's going to be able to make money from this. It just feels like they just want to own it by calling themselves Meta. They want to own
100%.
the name. So when you think of the metaverse, it's synonymous with their company. And then it just kind of like everything that they had said over the previous hour, then was just like, I don't believe this, you know? Yeah. I was just disappointed.
I'm absolutely there. I'm absolutely there. But the thing is, taking Meta, now it's a giant corporate cockblock on the term metaverse. Anything related to metaverse now gets instantly associated with Facebook. So what they're doing is they're like shoving themselves in there and going, hello, Johnny, this is mine. And it's a huge move because they think it's important, and they also think it's vital for the survival of their company. But I agree with you. I think it felt like, when like margarine or something like that says like 99% fat free. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. We're gonna play nice with everybody else. You're just gonna give it open. I don't buy that. I really don't.
But this was pretty much the final moment where Facebook shows their true colors in the most obvious way possible of what they want to do. So if no one understands now why they invested into VR and what they want to do with it, where they want to go, then I don't think anything else will, this was the most obvious thing ever.
It's transparent. Their message, their trajectory is now very clear.
And in a big way. And I should now, I always said, see you in the metaverse. I'm going to stop saying it because it doesn't give me the same vibes anymore like it used to.
Well, the biggest disappointment for me is the fact that they're nuking Oculus. I think that hurts. Well.
Yeah, and there's confusion about this because initially Boz said that like you said, they're nuking the name Oculus. They're not going to be using it anymore. But then he sort of quickly backpedaled and clarified. So Oculus will still remain a brand name when it comes to software, but it will be dropped on the hardware side. So the Quest is going to essentially be rebranded as to the Meta Quest. And the funny thing is, when I tweeted that, everyone was just like losing their minds. And I was as well, because it sounds like something that you would find on wish.com. You're looking for a VR headset and you find these like Quest ripoffs and they're called like Meta Quest or something like that. It's exactly what it sounds like. And for me, as someone that's been in this scene for such a long time and has such a strong love for the Oculus brand, despite it being a Facebook-owned company, I love the Oculus brand so much. And over the years, it's become synonymous with VR in many ways, to the point where people that don't even belong or are in this kind of VR bubble refer to VR headsets as, oh, you've got the Oculus. Like, it's such a powerful and strong brand name. To ditch it completely for this generic, Meta, it's just bullshit.
They're not doing it. They're not doing it to WhatsApp. They're not doing it to Instagram. Why are they doing it to Oculus? It makes zero sense to me. The only thing that I can see from a corporate perspective is saying, I don't want to have 3 pieces of a name. I don't want to have to say Meta Oculus Quest. I want them to say Meta Quest.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. Like you, I fell in love with Oculus, that name, to the extent that I was happy enough to take the Facebook branding on board, right? It offset it. But now they're taking Oculus away and they're giving us one, I'll call it untrusted unknown name, Meta. And to me, it's like the devil you know is the better than the devil you don't. So do I trust Meta instantly more than I trusted Facebook? I trust it less. And you're taking away my Oculus. So yeah, I really felt that out of the entire event. I felt a bit shafted by that change.
Yeah, just be happy, Mike, that they didn't call it Oasis, because that.
Oh, I know. I was hoping they wouldn't, because that would.
Can you imagine?
One of the reasons that I saw, and I don't know if this is true. I'm sure there are many reasons why you want to call this way, like it this way. I do think that it's only going to take a year or two and everyone calls it Meta, because the marketing they're going to throw against this is going to be insane. So we're going to be these boomers who are like, Oculus, boo. And then everyone is already talking about Meta before you know it. I can already tell you that right now. So I kind of accepted it. Like, it also hurts, I'm going to be honest here. I also love the Oculus. And for me also, like, Oculus is, a big part of the whole VR adventure. But
also like Oculus has been such a big and integral part of our lives for the last 4 years, especially as people that do something like this together as a group and have our own dedicated YouTube channels that focus on this stuff.
But the thing is, VR isn't mainstream yet. This is the moment to do it. Imagine PlayStation now renaming suddenly. Everyone would be like, it would be a big bombshell. But right now you can still pull this off. So this is the good moment to do it. It's smart how they kind of, put everything together. And one of the things that I saw, I don't know if this is true or not, but like Brett Lynch said, like maybe a part of why they also do this, a small part of it, is that Oculus is known as being the gaming thing. And they kind of try to make it more, because Oculus, most people who own an Oculus are playing games right now.
Yeah, and what you mean is they need to compete with Apple in 22 or 23.
Well,
so
yeah.
Why not change the brand now?
They weren't planning to. They want to get social. We're not planning necessarily to be the gaming VR company. That's not their plan. So.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the kind of branding marketing department of Facebook when this announcement was made, because I bet there was like shit hitting the wall.
But it's insane. Like everything is going to call like Meta Link and Meta this and Meta that. And also like since, like, as I said, it's already starting. Everywhere I see now, it says Quest 2. It doesn't say Oculus. Oculus is already disappeared. Like Thanos snapped.
It will never disappear Facebook in my heart.
Yeah,
no.
Well.
And it's funny because, you said that you mentioned something there, Nathan. You actually wrote this down. And I said that, maybe it's just going to get to a point when the metaverse is actually here, we'll be so old that the people that use it won't even remember that Oculus was from Facebook, and we'll be the boomers. That's exactly what I wrote down. So it's funny that you said that.
So fast, dude. Like, it's insane. Also with the Quest 2, like most people don't talk about the Quest 1 anymore. And soon when there's another headset, Quest 2 is already forgotten, and we're already, like, tech moves so fast. And this name will also move so fast. But it's weird now to be like, in a year or so, it's like, oh yeah, Meta's normal name. Still normal, right?
We'll be sitting in our rocking chairs. You don't know, back in my day,
the actual name Meta doesn't bother me, because I think someone made this analogy, and I agree, which is, Google has the parent company Alphabet, and Facebook now having the parent company Meta. Fine, right? It looks fine on a press release. Looks fine. I think anyone who uses the platform Facebook right now is going to rebuke it just because it's unfamiliar. And Facebook was something that grew up from being literally a dorm room project, and it's very odd feeling for them to kind of change that all overnight. But yeah, the VR portion, the VR segment of it, it's hard to remain positive about it. Just the Oculus bit dying off for me. Meta, I could care less about. They can call themselves whatever the heck they want. But I do think, as I said before, I think it's just a giant cock block between companies right now, because they need to survive it. If the metaverse doesn't take off in the way that they project it, I think Facebook/Meta has a problem long term.
Well, I think that is the difference between Alphabet and Meta, is that I think that Meta is actually going to be used for branding and not just as the overarching brand, the overarching company name. Right. because we are going to see things like the Meta Quest and Meta hardware and Meta this and Meta that. So I think that's still different than
correct. It's more invasive, is what you're saying, and it will be used at a deeper level, and it will. It's replacing the name of Facebook, right? So the Facebook app is what we call a Facebook app, Meta Facebook app, or I'm confused.
I think they'll eventually come out with something actually called Meta and then verse written in like some kind of like funny way.
You think verse is coming in? Do you?
That they download verse from Meta. You know.
Another name change question for you lads then. So obviously in this we also got the triumvirate of Horizon, right? Horizon Worlds, Horizon Workshops, and Horizon Home. How do you feel about that? Okay with that?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I think Horizon will be their metaverse. Although they refer to it as metaverse, it is called Horizon. I think it will expand and be Horizon, which makes more sense.
I had a question as well. Those are 3 pieces of software, right? Have we ever seen Oculus successfully bridge 3 independent pieces of software? Even 3 headsets, they like the social bit. We've seen them just go in different trains, going in different directions. I feel like they're going to end up in where Microsoft usually lands, which is all these different like software projects that have their own legs, and they'll have so much difficulty integrating them.
That's the problem. Like with venues, the avatars are different from Horizon, but then Carmack did address this, and he said that these products have to merge, and it will be painful for them, but they have to make it happen.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, so
it will be painful.
But I think the big takeaway from this is that, you know, this is a huge gamble for them. You know, they're putting all their eggs in this one basket. It'll be interesting to see if this gamble ultimately pays off for them. Who knows? And you've got to give them respect for going, you know, all in on this. You know, very few companies are doing this right now. So.
Yeah, but on the other side, they also have to, and like, you know, a lot of stuff happened for the last few months. So it is also very telling that they are heavily rebranding, changing everything. I've also never seen Mark Zuckerberg like on a live stream so long. Usually he would just say something for what was it, like 5 minutes, and then now it was only Mark Zuckerberg. So yeah, there is a lot going on behind the scenes, and they're completely trying to change how people see their company.
One thing that you said at the start, Nathan, which is what I stepped away from this feeling, was production quality is a good indicator of how much the company cares about this message and how much, again, the risk they're taking in this space. And they are absolutely going balls to the wall with their pocketbook on this one. You can tell.
This is the big personal investment that Mark is making. This is his big project. Maybe this is going to be the biggest project of his entire life. You know, when he's gone, that people talk about this being the biggest thing he ever did. I really think so.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah. So let's move on then, because we have got some other topics to discuss on this week's show.
Could I just make one point? There was part of the I don't know what to call it now, Meta Connect 2021, that actually brought me to tears, and I wasn't expecting that. A company whom many of you might know is called Supernatural, and they did something that I never thought like a California style company with all the smiley, sexy bodies could do. And they took one of their community members and made them a dance coach, a lady who was quite overweight and all of this. And I found it to be very, very touching. Like they did the right thing. And I'd love to see other companies really challenge the status quo and do something like that. So out of all of Connect, that was the thing that actually struck me the most. The second was probably Carmack, but I just wanted to spend a moment
like
to say,
including the community more and showing what's getting made or what's going on with how people get inspired by.
Just bringing this feeling of what a natural community looks, feels, and sounds like to the forefront.
That's
we
what
don't
I said.
all
like,
have
this,
to be
that's
perfect.
The real
We don't
stuff.
all have
those
to.
Are real stories.
Bring real people back to the forefront. I still think that Connect is missing the indie vibe that it used to have. Giving them a showcase, giving them a leg to stand on. We need more of that. And maybe that's the gaming showcase that's to come later. But I want to see more of the community side, and I want to see more of the indie side both brought forward for the future Connects and other events that come forward. So
I feel like I'm now in a call with like 8-bit Max Payne on the NES.
He's amazing.
Oh, okay, let's just continue.
Yeah,
I don't know what the heck's going on.
No, now it's fine again.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. So yeah, that's enough about the Facebook Connect event. Now it's time to thank another one of our sponsors, one of our favorite games as a group, Walkabout Mini Golf from the team at Mighty Coconut. If you haven't tried Walkabout Mini Golf, You're not only missing out on one of the best golfing games that VR has to offer, but also such an amazing social VR hangout experience that you can have with your friends and family. The game includes 8 beautiful courses, including the latest course called Quixote Valley. They've just updated this map with their hard mode, which takes place in the dark if you're looking for that extra little bit of challenge. And each hole on the course has a unique hidden collectible ball, which you have to go and hunt out alongside golfing. So, it's kind of fun to do when your friends are taking their shots. You can go and hunt out the hidden balls. Really, really, really cool. It's a super fun game. You should definitely go check it out. Walkabout Mini Golf is available on Oculus Quest and PC VR headsets via Oculus and Steam. And the link to the Quest version is in the description down below.
Okay.
Wonderful. Cool. Absolutely wonderful. I haven't tried
now,
the dark course yet, but oh man, I can't wait.
No, we should jump in together to try out. Really.
I'll put something together, lads. We could do that. No problem.
Yeah. So if you tuned in on the show last week, we mentioned a new VR Kickstarter campaign for a mixed reality headset called the Lynx R1. Well, Nathie, he's not just changed his background environment and moved to a new location. No, he's actually in Paris right now. Reporting live from Paris. And you actually got to try out this headset today, right?
Yeah, well, it's not even that long ago. So I'm still kind of, having to kind of sit back and relax and think about what I tried. But I did.
Tell us all about it. Also, if you've got any questions for him in the chat,
I'll try to tell.
Far away.
I'm going to try to tell you what I experienced, but as I said, it's been so crazy that you might have to help me a little bit here.
Free your mind and let it go.
I will free my mind. I will. Thank you, Mike. So Stan, the CEO of Lynx, he invited me over to come to Paris to try it out. I wanted to, the moment it got announced, I wanted to try out this because it's a VR/AR. Well, we call that mixed reality. Some people I just call it a VR AR headset that can do has a pass through, like what we just spoke about. With what Facebook is working on, that's already here. So what he's working on is he has a full pass through RGB, so AR in a way. It's kind of like cheating with AR, but it's still AR, mixed reality, and VR where you can just completely close yourself off. And he invited me over and he showed me the headset. He did a Kickstarter that was very successful. I don't know how much he got. Was it like 500 or was it 300? I don't know, but enough to start making this headset basically. And I got to try it and I was very impressed for sure in not the ways I expected, because a lot of people are, of course, oh, what's the display like? What was this and that? But the thing that I experienced, what I found very impressive about this headset, and this headset, by the way, is for consumers and enterprise for both markets, is that, so I'm sure most of you have seen Leap Motion before, where you have your hands in front of you in VR, and you see these skeleton kind of things going on over your hands, overlaying it and showing what your bone structure is like. Nowadays it's called Ultra Leap. I think they went with another company, now it's called Ultra, but it was Leap Motion before. So that's built in, that technology is built into this headset. And what Stan showed off is that with hand tracking, usually when you hold your one hand behind the other one, or let's say have an object, then it kind of occludes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, here that has been solved. So you can put your fingers between your other fingers and it works. You can just you don't have to worry about your hands disappearing like you, for example, have on the Quest, right? Where they kind of hide the fact hand tracking isn't completely ready yet. So usually your hands disappear on the Quest. Yep. But here they just stay in the view. And this is the best part. When you then use the AR function and you, for example, spawn in an object like a satellite or a car or something else, you can put your hand behind the object and your hand will actually go behind the object instead of in front of the object. Wow. So it's actually giving you that sense of depth. And that's something that the HoloLens also didn't do so well at the start, where your hand would go always through the objects. So you truly have, it adds to the immersion, of it being there. Can
you spend a moment on that? So the occlusion, it's convincing enough?
Yeah. It's insane. It's insane.
So basically your hand, there's nothing left. It's completely occluded. You see no
No, 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 no. And of course, it's still a little bit where your hand sometimes like a little top of your finger is because it has to map that. But overall, it's really solid. It's really, really solid. It's
Wow.
amazing. So yeah, usually we talk about, lenses and things like that. But this, like the software part, I said, like, I see what you're doing here. This is very impressive. So yeah, hand tracking in a way where it feels like the object is actually there on your hand. It's great.
The other question I had for you was those freaky ass lenses. Like, how does that feel near your face? Like, is it comfortable? Is it uncomfortable? What does it even look like? Does it just look like a normal lens when it's up close?
No, it's fine. I wasn't necessarily like blown away by any of that. I did have higher expectations of it, a little bit of like the screen being bigger, but this is more of a glasses style headset. This is not necessarily as I said, it's a VR/AR headset. So it's more you're looking through a screen and you can still look out on the outsides, out of your screen. He does have a little face gasket that you can put there, so you're completely, immersed. And yeah, like quality wise, it's hard to compare, but it wasn't, let's say, Quest 2 level or Index level. But I said like it's good enough to be immersed when you're like playing around with hand tracking. You totally forget about that, and it's just great. But the lenses are very interesting. I mean, he's like, I don't know how they are called, but they're like these sort of like diamond shaped lenses, and they project like the screen in it like 4 times on these like lenses. It's hard to explain, but it's very it's very interesting to see what he came up with. But looking through them, like things are sharp. I don't see, like what you have with Fresnel lenses or glare or anything like that. Like in my opinion, the screen could be sharper and could be more around me. But yeah, great. But as I said, like I'm more a guy who likes to check out the experience than really, if it's like 12K, like we mentioned before, or anything like that. But I think the best part, and this is the first time I got to experience this in the way we're going to do that in the future, is you are in AR, so you're seeing the real world, and then suddenly you can step into something and you're in VR. And it's like a seamless like portal between like real life and VR with this RGB see-through. And it's like super duper awesome.
You're
really
physically
good.
stepping?
Yes.
So like stepping
room scale.
So basically you're in AR, and like let's say Vertigo 1, you step through a doorway, you're physically room scale stepping forward. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're into VR.
Yeah, so he had one demo where he had like this big like ball, and it was like the universe was inside this ball. So you're standing there and you see like this ball floating and you're like, what's in there? And you can kind of already see the stars kind of like beaming out of this like big ball. And then you walk towards it and suddenly you're in there. And then you can grab the sun, and you can grab the sun and put it on the outside again. So you're going back to the real world, but you grab the items that you took with you. So I threw the sun away and it just flew through the office, through the window, through Paris. Maybe it's still like flying around somewhere. I don't know.
You screwed up their app. Great.
Yeah. But you see what I mean? So basically VR and AR coming together. This was my first glimpse of that like marriage between these two technologies, and it works really well. Like this is what we predicted before. This is like super awesome. So like really stepping in and out of AR and VR.
We had a question from the chat from Dr. English. What's the build quality feel like? Is it all plastic or are there metal bits too? It's hard to tell from the render. I mean, is it a full-fledged headset that you try, or is it like still a prototype?
It is still. I should say it's still a prototype. I mean, they're working very hard on this, but it is usable. It didn't feel like something that is like that just came out of the oven. Build quality wise, I mean, it felt solid to me. They do have like it has a hinge, right, where you can put it up and down. That is something that I do maybe see where someone could destroy that, but I mean, I think with every headset that's a problem where people do it too fast, or there is a certain point where it stops, and if you then stay with the elite strap, right, where people just keep dialing.
Your brother actually mentioned that it was an aluminium mainframe and has plastic around it, but of course, since it's a prototype, we
Yeah, he's
we
right.
don't know what the ultimate device is, I guess.
Yeah, but there were two versions of this, where one had like a black shell around it, and there's one where you can see all the hardware. I think that's really awesome. It's like this steampunky, nerdy, geeky headset. Like it looks really good.
And this is a standalone headset, is it?
Yeah, it's standalone. Yeah.
And what do they have planned in terms of like content for this thing?
That's a good one. So I wanted to say something here, but I can't.
Okay.
But let's say he has a very good. I think in a few weeks we'll know more about this, but he's definitely got. Let's say he's gonna work together with others to bring content to his headset. I mean, that might sound a little vague, but then you kind of get the idea of where he's going with this, because him only making the software himself is, of course, it's very hard, and it's also expensive. It does allow you to stream PC VR games like Airlink, and this actually I was the first one to try this. It worked today. They worked all night because I told them I'm coming over and I would love to play some Half-Life Alyx on this, and they worked their asses off, and that, like, I really appreciate them doing this to make it work for me so I could try it. And I like Stan was like, holy shit, it works. He was so happy. He was like, you have no idea, he said. So I played some Half-Life Alyx wirelessly. It did have a small delay, but at least they got the controllers working. I still had the Vive controllers, kind of weird because these controllers are, of course, not published yet. They're not public, so there's no shape of them in Steam VR. Also, the controllers that I used are not the end versions. You could compare them a little bit to the ones that we saw to what we saw with the Cabria and the Quest Pro leaks, where there's no ring on top, where they're kind of small. But it's nowhere near the end, because I said, like, the controllers are nice, but if you want to play games with these, then they might be a little bit bigger and more haptics, etc. But I had a good feeling about it, because I did see some people say, it's a Kickstarter, same with Pimax and stuff like that. And partly a lot of what he's working on is still unknown of where it's going. But so far, the blueprint he has, and also the noble goal of, with Facebook being this tech giant, also try to make it to the market in Euro, by the way, because in Euro with Varjo, like, most are American or Chinese. It's kind of nice to see these guys, pulling it off. And they're working with like 15 people. Yeah. So it's a small team, but they make some magic,
So I think that the plan is to release the headset with as it is, so you can use hand tracking, but the controllers will be additions, right? Especially with the Kickstarter campaign. I think that's the plan.
I think so.
And I think from what you're saying, I think there's some misunderstanding in the chat. When you say Vive ones, that was just the texture that you saw in the headset represented when you but the controllers that you actually physically held were their own in-house developed controllers.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but it worked with Steam VR. I played also the Lab. I played some Beat Saber too, but it was more at the point we can now officially say that Lynx is also a gaming headset, and that it does run, because so far what you have seen, it's all like, nice hand tracking demos and stuff, but we haven't really seen any actual gaming, because you will be able to. So
and it's funny because a lot of people sort of said, the best AR headsets that we'll see will be VR headsets in the beginning, that have pass-through modes, rather than full proper.
And it's very small. It's very light. It has like this halo strap, similar to what the HoloLens has. It also doesn't weigh much. I did notice that he has to charge it a lot right now, where it's like, it's empty again, so we have to charge it. But that's because it is kind of small. Maybe they're gonna build a bigger battery into the back and stuff, and kind of but it did feel like comfy to wear. And I do find, like, I know that some people might say, okay, if you play a VR game, you want to be completely closed off. But when I was playing Beat Saber, for example, and people were watching me play, it is kind of nice to also be able to kind of look out of it. So I do think being completely immersed and not being does have like different use cases in many ways. With AR, it does fit more to have it open, because the real world is already there. So looking through it, it kind of makes your field of view kind of bigger. It feels that way.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Is this
a bit like with the Flow, I suppose? Like that had an option as well, right?
Yeah. Is this the most open plan VR headset that you've tried? Like,
I think so.
Where you can see your peripheral in real life? Because the Flow is like you were saying, Mike, that's the other one that's kind of obvious. If you don't have the surround, it's quite open.
Right.
Well, I haven't, the thing is, I haven't tried many of these headsets. Like, for example, the Quest has black and white pass-through. Like, this is RGB. So that's, I think this is one of the first ones I tried. I can't compare it to HoloLens because that's different technology. That's, using but the field of view was nice enough where, your hands and everything, you can just do your thing. And I'm sure he's gonna put like bigger cameras in it where they have even a bigger reach, because sometimes when I reach like really far away with my hand, then it would kind of lose the tracking a little bit or a bit to the right, so you kind of have to move with your headset. But I mean, as I said, this is all work in progress. This is no end result. But it's cool that you get to try it and then also get to kind of be a part of almost like this journey where I'm suddenly in the middle of them discovering SteamVR and it finally works on the headset. So
and the headset itself, it's like a room scale, right? So it's got like cameras on it for head tracking, I take it.
So it's like you could call it inside out.
Okay. Yeah.
A question about the RGB pass-through. How's the saturation in it? Like, does it look lifelike or is it quite muted?
It did have colors. I did see that it's automatically correcting. When it's in AR and you look through it, then it's like it's looking at the light, so it becomes a little bit more bluish. But when you were in VR, as I said, like I played Beat Saber and didn't really feel like I couldn't play Beat Saber. It just looked fine to me. It's just I feel like they can't like serve every market and expect, for example, what people want that want to buy a Pimax or something. You know what I mean? In terms of like the colors and like this is a mix of a headset, so you kind of have to serve everywhere, and you kind of have to also you can't do it perfect here. It's a hybrid, in that sense.
Do they have like a target market in mind, or is it just kind of like broad? They're just kind of leaving it open for everyone to kind of do what they want with this thing?
I think both. I think Stan totally supports open VR, and a lot of consumers have backed this. Also businesses, but right now it's too early to say who's gonna. But if people start to make, like as you said, content is going to be a big part of where this headset is heading. If people start to make these little AR, VR games or things like that, then you're suddenly getting a new genre. Because, dude, I just only saw some planets and stuff. But let's say someone makes a little game. Let's say like Shadow Point Observatory. That game. That would be an amazing game for this headset. Where sometimes it's a real life puzzle. Then you walk in circles and suddenly it's VR again. Dude, it's like a total new.
I like those.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Those really sound good. I was nervous there. I was chuckling to myself because I thought of Nathy throwing away an NFT sun or some NFT object. Like when we get to the unique
like 10
side.
Bitcoin. Yeah, don't throw it away.
But this is what my brother said. He said, like, we were there, we tried to record some stuff, but he said, like, this is the stuff that you have to try to understand where it's going. So even that I explained this, you have to try this for yourself. I know this is kind of hard right now.
I know.
Yeah. But it is one of those things where you can explain it. But, as I said, moving from AR into VR, with the Quest 2, you can kind of get the idea. But when you finally get to see the same colors your eyes kind of see, it becomes a different story. And it becomes more real. You're like, wow.
Well, that does sound good. I like that. Yeah. I like the whole concept of moving from, seeing your real world and then jumping in through a portal or whatever, and then just being completely immersed in a VR experience. Now, that sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. We have a video about this coming soon?
Well, yeah. I wasn't here for, peanuts, but also peanuts, French peanuts. Now maybe next week we'll kind of have to see, because everything was so chaotic that I was like, I'm gonna go to Paris like right after Connect. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think we can kind of chill now, and everything kind of happened. I'm sure Stan was relieved, because I'm sure he also expected Facebook to, because this project we're talking about is kind of, I think, the same thing he's working on.
Project Canberra. Yeah,
similar
sort of concept.
Yeah, I think so. So, I would definitely keep an eye on this guy. He was very nice, very passionate. He wanted to talk about VR forever. Big office with all these cool. I like this was the first time someone actually showed me how they calibrate headsets with these robot arms and how they, test like different light. Like, usually with like Zim, he burned his lenses once, right? And he has like this device that like acts like the sun and stuff, and they can kind of test how light shines into the headsets. If it, let's say, has effect on glare and things like that. So I really got to see the tools. And this dude, but I had to sadly leave before then. He had a what was the name again? Star
VR.
Star VR, yeah, the Star VR.
God, that massive
like a remnant
battleship of a headset.
Yeah, but that was kind of crazy. Where it's like, whoa, like a Star VR, those are really rare.
So that's why you ran the Kickstarter. To take the money back from that.
Yeah. To buy the Star VR and a fusion reactor so you could imitate the sun. Nice.
Cool.
But for me, it's so important. Like if you hang out with these people, and same with Pimax, when Pimax was like make the 5K and I traveled to China, I felt like I understood better what they're doing. And with this guy as well, I feel like you can trust him and that he really wants to make VR something awesome. So
and
yeah,
open,
VR and AR,
open more importantly,
open,
right?
Yeah, open, especially open. So yeah. There you go.
Cool.
That's Lynx.
Very cool. And yeah, if you, I'm sure Nathan's going to have a video about it also. Keep an eye on his channel over the next couple of weeks if you want to hear more about the Lynx R1. Also, check out the Kickstarter campaign. They've just hit over £500,000 British pounds pledged, which is completely smashed their initial backer goal. So if you're interested in this headset, go check it out. But like I say, I think the only question we've got over our minds right now is the content. But it seems like they've got a plan for that.
Yeah.
So
and he will be in America soon, with CES and AWE. I think he's going to be there. So if that's something I know it's still kind of hard to, but if you're in America and you do want to try it, that's the place.
Very nice. Very nice. Cool. It's good of you to go and try these things. I think, and bring your hands-on perspective to the podcast. It brings something interesting and new to it as well. So yeah, I appreciate that, dude. So before we get into the releases, we've got to thank our final sponsor of this week's show, and that is of course VRCover. We all love their products. We all use them on all our headsets. I've been using them for like forever now, it seems. They make full replacement facial interface kits for practically every consumer VR headset available on the market. These interface kits have Velcro on them, so you can swap over the face pads quickly and easily and make everything nice and hygienic if you're demoing VR to your friends and family. They also do some awesome grips for controllers as well, so you can have these textured grips that kind of are fixed to your hands with a strap. You don't have to use the crappy Oculus Quest default sort of wrist straps, and they're sort of attached to your hand, which is super nice. If you're interested in leveling up your own VR headset, check out the full range of products from VRCover, which is available on their website. And we've put the link to that in the description down below. So go check them out, show them some love. We love them, they love us, and we're super happy that they're a sponsor of the show.
Free hugs for everyone.
It's free hugs. Consensual relationship.
Free VR hugs for everyone. Now it's time to hand over the reins to Zim for this week's top picks, content that you should keep your beady little eyes on coming out over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. All right. So this is the time where you got to get your wallets out and purses. And I'll start you off with Ancient Dungeon, which for those who've played this before, is finally time to buy it. It's coming to Steam and App Lab on the 3rd of November, just a day before Blade and Sorcery. So you can maybe beat it then. I'll give you a little rundown on what this game offers. So this is a procedural roguelike. You now have 5 unique dungeon floors, each with their own bosses, monsters, and soundtracks. There's unique gameplay mechanics in this. It's very much a VR dungeon. It's procedural as well, and that's the most interesting thing about this. Even the pickups. You have more than 100 different power-ups as you venture through these various dungeons, and a final boss fight in this build of the game. There was a content roadmap ahead, but I think I can safely now say this is the time, if you've been waiting for a complete game, to go and buy it. It is early access on Steam, but absolutely Ancient Dungeon is a blast to play. I've really enjoyed this, and from the German dev, it's one of the better kind of like dungeoneering experiences that you can get, and it has kind of shambled over the last year all the way up to this point, with content being added as they've gone, and they added a nice kind of range of soundtracks and stuff to the game as kind of the final cherry on the cake, and now it's finally ready for
it looks like a very original art style, I think, as well, to see in VR, and the VR implementation also looks like fantastic.
Chopping grass down is way more fun than it should be.
This is a must buy because you can cut grass in VR.
Absolutely.
In 8K.
Euro Truck, you can drive a truck, and in Ancient Dungeon, you can slice grass down. Oh my. Now, we ran this a little bit earlier, but I'll just cover off the kind of real basics of this, just in case you joined us later. Blade and Sorcery Nomad is launching on Quest November 4th for $20. That's around about £15. I should have mentioned Ancient Dungeon is at the same price point of $20 and £15. So again, sandbox. So if you're waiting around eagerly for Project 4, or you just like slicing and dicing some AI, this is a lovely single player experience with
it's a sharp price.
It's a sharp price. I think for that money, it's going to sell
Very
like
sharp.
hotcakes. And if you want to get your stabbing action on, that's the place to do it. It was interesting to me that in the trailer there was no blood or gore. Right? It's just kind of
but
very
it's good for us too because we're a family-friendly
podcast. So anyway, that's Blade and Sorcery, and it's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's. People have been demanding that for Quest for so long now, and honestly, it's come faster than I thought.
Isn't the thing that makes Blades and Sorceries like the mods? Like, how is that going to work with like the Quest title? Because mods is like a big thing in that game.
I have
partly. Mike said that they were partly coming.
Yeah. So they confirmed
Partly
on their
coming.
website that they're supporting mods.
I don't know what that
on
means
Quest.
partly, but
But they just said that like running multiple mods at the same time might bring the Quest to its knees. So you have to be a bit conservative with the mods that you use, and also not all mods from PC will be available on Quest, but they will be supporting mods, which I think is great for a Quest title.
Basically the copyright-free ones.
Yeah.
There you go. And here's my third spotlight. So after the Fall, mentioned a bit earlier, this is the co-op 4-player FPS. And if you are a Left 4 Dead fan, honestly, Vertigo Games are trying to make the Left 4 Dead for VR. It's a little bit different in that you're in the cold apocalyptic future, and this is something. The thing I think that's really interesting is they had this playable a couple of years ago. Rowdy and I know have both tried this, and it has a chance. I say it has a chance because it's launching on PSVR. It's launching, Steam, and on Meta's headsets too. If we're gonna just like shoo them to the back corner now.
Is it with Meta Link or Meta Airlink?
You can. I think you can do both. So this is the one thing I would say that I kind of walked away from this headset or from this game having tried it, and I hope is going to make it into the final build was the number of bodies that you could pile up. Like literally a horde would come at you, and at the end you would have stacks of corpses. I always said at that time I don't know if that was going to be possible, but the core gameplay elements, how they differ from Left 4 Dead, for example, you've got customizable, craftable weaponry. Which is I think an interesting feature. We'll see how that stands up. But the fact that it's across so many platforms, I think will help to keep the lobbies available and hopefully full for the forthcoming weeks. I would say, again, I always give this caveat when there's a multiplayer, a multiplayer title in VR landing, get in early if you want to play with other people, because things can dry up. Pop 1 hasn't dried up yet, but it'll have its day at some point. So if you want to play this with other players, don't wait months. Get in the first couple of weeks. And this is landing on, November 9th. I don't have a price tag to it.
This is December 9th. It's coming out, this one.
Oh, December 9th. I must have miswrote that. Thank you, Mike.
Sorry. When I saw the trailer pop up, I was like, this is a while away yet. Yeah, it's the 9th of December.
That means I'm running it way early. Thank you. You should have called it up front. Sorry about that.
It's a good one to get people hyped for. It's going to be an interesting title.
You can go on holiday next show, so you don't have to come.
That's great.
Nice, right?
That's it. That's my job done.
Yeah.
I have a couple more things just to kind of mentions for us at the end here. So there's a couple of things that we haven't mentioned. I just want people not to kind of completely miss. And also, given it's the Halloween season, you can tell because we're all in our various costumes here. So first off, Ragnarok on Quest, which landed on the 21st. That's kind of like a Viking music game. Try that out. Puzzling Places had a DLC, which was called Mars Desert Research Station, which I've tried. That's pretty fun. If you were looking for new content, if you build all the puzzles, now you have a chance to go buy some more. The one that I wanted to cover off for Halloween specifically is Affected, the Manor Complete Collection, which is great because it's got something called the Gauntlet, which I think would be perfect. Rowdy was talking earlier about, showing off the headset. Halloween's a great time. People are getting together and all this. The Gauntlet is like a multi-minute, it's not very long, but it's like this multi-minute run that you have to do, and there's bookshelves running in front of you, little girls popping up, wheelchairs, and you have to get it done as quickly as possible. So it's kind of perfect for the person who's got a lot of self-confidence and wants to do something horrifying in VR because it's Halloween and feck it, I'll just jump in the headset. I think the Gauntlet would be the perfect example. Affected itself is a bit intense and maybe shouldn't be a person's first time, but the Gauntlet I think would work really well. So I'll flash a little bit about how that works. And have you guys all played Affected, or some of you not yet played that?
Been a long time, long time.
Yeah, you should.
Too scared for me.
You should definitely try the Gauntlet. It is a hilarious new feature. So that's now launched on a bunch of different platforms, and they've just come to PSVR too. So to PSVR also. PSVR also, not PSVR.
Wow, we're getting we're really
leaks.
Getting to hear stuff about the future
Absolutely.
today.
You can't stop me, right?
This is the first time you actually saying that, so that's impressive.
It is. And then there's this is the freebies section. So the last things I want to say, all the rest of the stuff I'm going to talk about are free. Firstly, let's start with Steam. So I won't run a trailer for it because I felt like it was a little bit spoilery. But if you're not familiar with H.P. Lovecraft's stuff, think about cosmic horror and poetry merged together. If you've heard the word Cthulhu, you're in the right camp. There is a free experience that just landed on Friday, so 29th of October, and that's called Dagon, Dagon. And you play this ship captain who's addicted to drugs, wants to end his life, and you then get to experience the why. So how did you end up in such a sad, starry state, Mr. Captain? And he gives you this whole kind of it's a very poetic telling. It's for anyone who is like a fan of the English language. This taught me maybe 20 new words that I hadn't heard before. It's actually kind of worth your time. 30 to 40 minutes will take you to run through it. But you do get to see some pretty creepy, creatures. And so that's worth your time. It's on Steam. It's free. Go try it. That's Dagon, Dagon. And then the other one, which is probably the biggest, baddest news today, is that there are 3 games, not just one VR game, landing for PlayStation Plus owners. And this is actually shocking news because you're getting the Persistence. If you're subscribed, you're getting the Persistence for free. You're getting The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, and Until You Fall. So I think that trio of games, if you don't enjoy one of those 3, you're probably a broken human being, because that's amazing. The Persistence is perhaps the only game, it's a horror game, that I have not been able to complete simply because it's too scary in parts. So the Persistence is a great, again, kind of a roguelite. Until You Fall, which I'm showing, is I would call it like a music roguelite sword/action game where the timing of your slashes matters and how you slash, and you progress and you reset. And then, of course, The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, that's in my top 5. I mean, if you want a really atmospheric kind of horror experience this Halloween, you can't go wrong with Walking Dead. It's amazing. Even if you don't like horror games that scare you, this one is it'll make you fearful for your life in the environment. It's not like a jump scare horror. It's really, really well done. It's tasteful horror. So if you want something to really whet your appetite this Halloween, you can't go wrong with The Walking Dead.
Nice. No, this is a great lineup. Also, not a freebie, sadly, but a blast from the past, and I'm saying it every year, Edge of Nowhere. Third-person VR, fantastic.
And not too long either. You can probably clock that in like
4, 5, maybe.
Yeah, it's bite size. You can do it in a weekend evening. So that's the 3 that I mentioned were Ancient Dungeon, Blade and Sorcery Nomad, and you can just erase from your minds After the Fall. That's coming in another month.
That's time. What I love about these PS Plus games that we're slowly getting for free, like we've had other PS Plus games like Farpoint and Star Wars Squadrons recently, is that they're slowly building up people's like PlayStation VR libraries, and they probably don't even know, but they're subtly doing this. And then when the headset drops, they're going to be like, oh, by the way, if you've been a PS Plus member for the last year, you've got like a dozen games to play already. So don't worry about the headset price. So super smart move from Sony, I think. But thank you for the games, Zim. We're going to wrap up the show now because we've gone on for quite a while, but we've had a lot to talk about. It's been an important discussion in many ways. So I hope you appreciate these long episodes. If you've got any questions, now's the time while I kind of wrap up the show. I just want to say thank you again to everyone that's watching and listening, and also for the support of our amazing sponsors, Synth Riders, Walkabout Mini Golf, and of course VRCover. Just a reminder of the show times. It's live streamed every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. Hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss all our future shows. Yeah. And of course, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time where we'll be talking more about the latest and greatest VR news from the VR industry. Everyone's saying thank you for the fantastic episode, amazing show. Thanks for the great show, guys, as always, from Norman Robinson. One Up VR as well. Thank you for the amazing show. Dark Angel, long-time supporter. Thanks for the stream. Everyone's just saying thank you. No questions for us, it doesn't look like, so we'll wrap up the show and say goodbye. So thank you again to you all. See you in a couple of weeks' time. Have a great couple of weeks in VR. Until then, bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.